in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Then we have a statement that's being responded to. I'm told by the Transport and Infrastructure Committee. I think Honorable Dawood, were you the one to give the response on behalf of the committee? Yes, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is the response on behalf of the Chairman Transport Committee. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member for Madoia, Honorable Dr. Edwin Mugo requested a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the deteriorating state of Thika Superhighway. Honorable Speaker, in the statement, Honorable Dr. Mugo sought to establish a report on the maintenance and rehabilitation plans put in place by the Ministry of Roads and Transport for the Thika Superhighway, particularly the stretch from Ngara to Kenol in Muranga County. B, the reasons for delay in repairing potholes and other damaged sections of the Thika Superhighway and measures being undertaken to address the deterioration so as to enhance road safety. And 3, the timelines within which the government intends to complete the necessary repairs and rehabilitation works to ensure it is in a motorable condition. Honorable Speaker, the committee received a response from the Ministry of Roads and Transport through the Clerk of the National Assembly, which I now wish to make. Honorable Speaker, regarding the maintenance and rehabilitation plans, the Ministry submitted that Ngara Canal comprises the Nairobi-Thika Superhighway S1 and the Thika Canal section of the A2 road. The maintenance interventions undertaken on the sections include surface dressing on the Nairobi-Thika main carriageway in 2019, localized repairs and pothole patching along the service lanes in 2025, and rehabilitation on selected sections along the non-motorized transport facilities walkways in 2025. Number 2, Madam Speaker, the Ministry further submitted that there are ongoing performance-based maintenance contracts on the Nairobi-Ruiru section. The major scope includes construction of bus bays at Roysambu and Githurai, aimed at improving traffic operations and safety along the sections, pothole patching at failed sections, installation of road signs, road marking along the constructed bus bays, and performance-based maintenance on the carriageway, road reserve, and structures to the required service level. Madam Speaker, number 3, on the Ruiru-Thika section, the Ministry submitted that the scope includes construction of climbing lane along the Blue Post section at Thika, construction of bus bays along Waithaiti section, pothole patching at failed sections, provision of road marking, and performance-based maintenance of the carriageway, road reserves, and structures to the required service level. Number 4, on the Thika Canal section, the Ministry submitted that the section of the A2 road was recarpeted in 2022 due to the budgetary constraints. Sealing the overlay with surface dressing on the road section could not be executed within the same contract. The overlay hence experienced severe raveling resulting from the effects of excess rainfall experienced between October 2023 and May 2024 after the overlay. Number 5, the Ministry further submitted that the road is currently under a performance-based maintenance contract whose major scope includes drainage works comprising provision of access culverts 900 millimeter and drain excavation, localized base repairs with hand-picked stones, surface tracing with 6/10 chippings, and 80/100 penetration grade bitumen. Sections, provision of road markings and other specified road furniture, and performance-based maintenance of the carriageway, road reserve, and structures to the required service level. Number 6, due to the budgetary and contractual constraints, the Ministry submitted that the current contract quantities are insufficient to accommodate AC overlay on the severely raveled sections. It has thus been considered necessary to forego the surface dressing and utilize the funds allocated to surface dressing to address more of the revel sections through AC regulation. Number 7, the ministry further submitted that while the traffic loading on Thika Superhighway, Thika Canal and Canal Marua is considered uniform, faster deterioration is experienced along the Thika Canal section due to the inferior pavement structure. In view of this, the road section requires additional funding for pavement strengthening. In the long term, the Thika Canal section forms part of the government's planned upgrading of the canal, Thika Canal Marua corridor. Implementation of the major rehabilitation and upgrading works will be undertaken subject to availability of funding, completion of procurement processes, and fulfillment of statutory requirements. Number 8, Madam Speaker. Regarding the delay in repairing potholes and other damaged sections, the ministry submitted that since opening of the Thika Superhighway to traffic in the year 2012, the major maintenance interventions undertaken on the highway include single seal surface dressing in 2019. The road has over the years experienced deterioration due to the effects of traffic loading and weather. Number 9, Madam Speaker. The ministry further submitted that the deterioration is particularly pronounced on the service lanes and non-motorized transport facilities due to inherent limitations in the original pavement design. The non-motorized transport facilities were constructed with a 35mm asphalt concrete wearing course, while many sections experience poor drainage that has accelerated pavement deterioration. Similarly, the service roads are constructed with less robust pavement structure than the main carriageway, making them more susceptible to premature failing under the increasing traffic loads. Number 10, the ministry stated that KENA carries out regular road condition assessments through ARICS, that is Annual Roads Inventory and Condition Survey, DRMIMS, that is Dynamic Response Intelligence Monitoring System, and routine inspections to identify and prioritize critical interventions. However, the interventions undertaken over the years envisage only holding maintenance. Comprehensive rehabilitation and reconstruction of the affected sections will be undertaken subject to availability of funds. Due to budgetary constraints, delays have been experienced in the undertaking the required treatments, including base repairs, reconstruction of the failed sections, and drainage improvement works. Number 11, regarding the timelines for completion, the ministry submitted that the holding maintenance works under the ongoing performance-based contracts are continuous and will be undertaken throughout the contract period to ensure the road remains safe and motorable. In the year 2025-2026, the allocation for maintenance was 1,632,612.41, while in the year 2026-2027, the amount of for maintenance is 1,649,541,319. 12, the second last. On the Nairobi-Ruiru section, the ministry submitted that the contract commenced on 9 June 2025 and is a 24-month contract with a scheduled completion date of 8 June 2027. On the Ruiru-Thika section, the contract commenced on 9 June 2025 and is a 24-month contract with scheduled completion date of 8 of June 2027. On the Thika Canal section, the contract commenced on 24th of November 2025 and is a 24-month contract with a scheduled completion date of 23rd of November 2027. Lastly, the ministry further submitted that the comprehensive rehabilitation and reconstruction of the Thika Canal section will be undertaken subject to the availability of funding, completion of the requisite procurement processes, and fulfillment of statutory requirements. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I submit on behalf of the Chair of the Transport Committee. And Madam Speaker, I have already given the Member of Parliament for Modoia a written response. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Is a member who requested this? We let him. Let me give him my chance. Then we come to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the chairman for the elaborate response. Especially, I want to note that the budget has been increasing to manage the Vika Superhighway. But, Honorable Speaker, maybe there are some responses, but there are some issues which maybe they have not been adequately responded to. And one of them that has been introduced in the response is the construction of bus bays in Roysabu, Githurai, and Wetavie, because this bus base will be an important factor, in decongesting the road and also managing the issues of road accidents and so forth. They have not given us the timelines on when these bus roads will commence and when they are going to be completed. Number two, Honorable Speaker, the response has introduced the issues of construction of a climbing lane at the Blue Post section, but they have just mentioned it. They have not told us maybe when is it starting and maybe when is it coming to an end. And finally, Madam Speaker, the statement, the issue, the common factor here is the issue of funding, additional funding, and probably now that we even have the National Infrastructure Fund, probably the response has not told us when these funds will be availed so that this road can be in a better condition. And also, Madam Speaker, we can also look at the low-hanging fruits like the street lighting in this road. The street lighting for the road is in very poor condition. If the ministry, through Kenha and through the committee, can address some of those, those low-hanging fruits, like a construction of a footbridge in a place called Montezuma in Kabati, which can ease, the issues of road accidents and also the traffic congestion. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Speaker, with your indulgence, riding on that response from the Chair Committee on Transport to the Honourable Member for Madhioya, although the member for Imenti North referred to Madhioya as Modhioya, it is Madhioya constituency. Honourable Speaker, I know many members may not have been paying attention to your communication, which you communicated on the rejection of a bill that was passed by this House in October of 2025. And we are headed to October of 2026. And you indicated that immediately this House passed that bill, the Speaker's office did relay a message to the Senate on the passage of the Roads Amendment, the RMLF bill. Members will remember this is a bill that was apportioning money from the Road Maintenance Levy Fund to both KERA under the national government and part of this money going to our counties. And if members did not pay attention, the Senate has done the unthinkable. They rejected the bill in second reading. Not even with amendments, rejected the bill in totality. This is the same Senate, Honorable Speaker, that purports to be representing the counties. And I'm here left wondering, how are you representing the counties if you are rejecting a bill in totality that is apportioning part of RMLF funds to the same county governments to go and fix roads in your counties and in our neighborhoods, Honorable Speaker? Some of the issues you've had the Honorable Member for Madhioya raising are issues, again, street lighting is a function of the county government. But the member for Madhioya is now taking up the responsibility of lighting up Madhioya constituency because the governor has failed. And the senator for Murang'a, instead of going to push this bill, is rejecting it in totality together with the other senators in the other house. Honorable Speaker, part of what we intended to do with this bill is to ensure that there is no duplication in allocation of funds to roads at the local level, Honorable Speaker. Because what has been happening in our counties, because the public are not aware which road is classified as a county government road and which one is classified as a national government road. Governors have been taking money from RMLF, duplicating the same roads that they are allocating their county revenue share to fix, and stealing part of the budgets that they have appropriated to the same roads that they duplicate. Honorable Speaker, last week, as we sought to go to committee, or rather discuss the, what is it called? This Kamket bill. The Equalization Fund appropriation bill. The concerns that were there raised by many members again touch on duplication. Because the bill, we appropriate money from this house, this money is procured for at the county level by the county CEC officers in charge of finance or procurement for that matter. Then they allocate the same projects that they have procured under the equalization fund, they again budget for them in their county budgets, because they know the public do not know, Honorable Speaker. But the first accomplices to this theft in the county governments is the Senate. And Honorable Speaker, this rejection of this bill, as much as we go into mediation, and we'll be appointing a very strong mediation committee to discuss with the Senate. But we must express our disgust with the House that is rejecting a bill in totality. You cannot reject a bill in totality. There must be one or two clauses at least, even the title that you agree with. But you know, it's a rejection in jest, Honorable Speaker, and to spite this House. But I want to tell senators, you are not spiting this House. You are spiting the same people you will be going to vote for you next year. They will be asking you, what have you done to make sure that money, RMLF money, gets to counties to fix roads in our neighborhoods that are not being fixed because money is not going there, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, as I congratulate the committee on transport for the response they have done, I wanted to write on that, to remind the House that we have done our bit and we will continue to do our bit as pertains to the allocation of RMLF money, but we must stand our ground to ensure that there is no duplication of allocation of funds to particular roads or even duplication of projects under the equalization fund, Honorable Speaker, because that equalization fund was meant to come and create equity and fairness in the country. But even those counties have been benefiting from this equalization fund, Honorable Speaker. 10 years after devolution, the advent of devolution, there is no change on the ground because of theft at the county level, Honorable Speaker. I miss the days, Honorable Speaker, before these people went to court, when we would appropriate that money here and it would be procured at the national government level. And that is the right thing to do, because there is even better equity at the national level than at the county level. Therefore, let me ask that the members will be appointed to the mediation committee to ensure that we buttress the position that we took, that what goes to KERA must remain with KERA. What goes to the counties must go to roads that will not again be duplicated at the county level budgets, because that is what governors have been doing with a clear I do not want to use the words that the member for Baringo North is using, but there has been clear collusion between senators and governors, and that is why you see this protectionist attitude in the Senate on this RMLF bill. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Member for Tiati.
Speaker. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I want to agree with the leader of majority that one of the biggest mistakes of our constitution was the creation of the Senate. It is a terrible mistake of history that we created that house called the Senate. But Madam Speaker, while we have that house existing, we'll have to deal with it. And I urge the leader of majority to live by his word and appoint a very strong mediation committee so we look into the issues of the RMLF. And I want to confirm, Honorable Speaker, that indeed there is a lot of duplication happening in the counties. Duplication through RMLF, duplication through the equalization fund. And one of the biggest problems we have is that equalization fund. And I want to tell you, leader of majority, you are lucky that you withdrew that bill, the appropriation bill for equalization. We would have thrown it out until we solve the issue of the procurement function. It is one of the biggest mistakes that was done by the Treasury to bring regulations, Madam Speaker, that allocates the power of procurement to the county governments. And that's where the problem comes in. That's where they come and do their duplication. And outright plunder of public resources. So, Madam Speaker, I just want to say that I want to urge honorable members, when the minister comes, I hope he will come tomorrow, let us all come in numbers, and while I do not want to anticipate debate, but let us all come in numbers and for once and for all, deal with the matter of the equalization fund so that the people and the counties and the communities that are supposed to benefit from this fund can be able to benefit as per the constitution and as per the vision of the makers of our constitution. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Buri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just like the majority leader said, I think it has never happened in the two parliaments we have been, Tolof and this other one. When we think we are moving the right direction and the country is trying to manage the resources properly, the others who are not recognizing the positiveness of the things that the government is doing. Madam Speaker, one of the greatest problems that we have the counties is the capacity to manage the resources that has been appropriated to them. Road sector being one of them. Madam Speaker, we have a problem with the way the county is managing donor-funded resources by the name KISIP, which part of it is the loans, and the KUSIP, which part of it is going to the loans. Madam Speaker, the RMF and what my fellow colleague Kamket has spoken on the equalization funds. Madam Speaker, the Senate need to feel it. They really need to come out clean and tell Kenyans what their respective counties have done with the money that has been appropriated to them, and specifically the roads. I will challenge my senator to tell us what money has been put to the loans and what project of loans have been done in the 9 constituencies of Meru County. Mr. Speaker, it defeats the logic. It is undermining the intellect of these members, the 290 members, who have managed their constituency with the 22% and 10%. And significant things can be seen in the road sector. Madam Speaker, when everybody is saying, let's give service to our citizens, the Senate is refusing in totality a bill which has a lot of positiveness in it. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we are left wondering, are we serving the same citizens? What is the Senate representing? What are the senators deliberating on development of the counties? If they are in bed with the governors, they need to tell us. But history will judge them. History will judge them. Madam Speaker, it is unheard of that you can reject the bill in totality, and the benefit of this is to the citizens they purport to serve. If there is anybody killing the revolution, is that House called the Senate. And I think time has come for us to call it out. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I think we can go to the next order. Okay, member for, you may proceed. Member for Mogotio. Not Mogotio, sorry. May proceed, Honorable Makilap. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Writing on the response from the Honorable Dahoud on behalf of the road sector. Madam Speaker, this amendment that has been rejected by Senate wholesalely was meant to streamline the usage of RMLF funds that goes to the county government to ensure that projects are not duplicated in our counties and in our constituencies. As you may be knowing, Madam Speaker, that if you go today to every constituency in Kenya, the roads that you see being worked on are the little money that the constituencies receive as 22% of RMLF. You will wonder what happens with the budget of the county governments on the road sector. What happens to the money that are allocated to the county governments? And if senators are able to reject even the title of the bill without reading, Madam Speaker, the question that Kenyans are asking is, do we really need Senate? Do Kenyans require Senate? Do Kenyans require Senate? Kenyans do not require Senate. I think Parliament and National Assembly can transact business of this country without the Senate, because the Senate have reduced themselves into oversight in what MCAs are supposed to be doing in the counties. But I'm sure you can remember today, Senate are summoning ministers for security, ministers for education, ministers whose functions are not functions of county governments. This is the confusion in this country, that these people must understand devolution. There are functions in the fourth schedule. The work Senate are doing is what MCAs of Kenya must be oversighting their county governments. Why do we have a situation where Senate summon Minister for Energy, Minister for Education, Minister for Security? What business do they have? That is function of national government. Let them read the fourth schedule. Madam Speaker, this matter must be dealt with now. Just like the coalition fund. Teate is the single constituency in this country that receives the highest amount of money for equalization fund. But the counties mess up. They are my neighbors. There is nothing to show that the 580 million given to Teate under equalization fund are anything to show. Madam Speaker, and I agree with the majority leader. If Parliament is the one appropriating funds for equalization fund, then it is Parliament to oversight, the National Assembly to oversight. What we appropriate in this House must be oversighted by the members of this House. That's what the law says. So we, in fact, going forward, if there is money to be allocated for equalization fund, Madam Speaker, the projects must be itemized in our budget, so that when we pass the equalization fund, we pass with projects itemized and costed, Madam Speaker, so that we have real-time projects taking place in our counties. It is a lacuna. In fact, the judges did not read the Constitution properly. What Parliament appropriates, it must oversight it.
what the MCS will appropriate in the county governments to equal oversight. Madam Speaker, we need to review this and call the Senate to order so that programs of this country, development in this country, are not duplicated. Programs in this country can be able to be felt by the citizens who elected this House of Parliament. Madam Speaker, this is a serious matter that going forward, and even the committee that will be appointed for mediation, majority leader, appoint people who will not change their minds or could be convinced otherwise. People who have the interest of this country at heart, people who can defend the country from being washed away by senators who do not understand what they want.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I think the greatest mistake that the 2010 Constitution made without knowing is the establishment of Senate. I think that was the greatest mistake, and time has come when we are coming head-on with the truth. If, Madam Speaker, what they can do to reject in totality what goes to their voters, what goes to them, and they are the same people who claim that there are no roads, no lights, and lighting, Madam Speaker, it's part of the county government functions. It is high time the majority leader, we come up in totality and look at the amendment of this constitution. And when we go to the amendment of this constitution, let us amend that section called Senate. Carry all those functions to the National Assembly. Because this House makes all laws. If, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sorry, if this House looks in totality the total amendment of the Constitution, whatever method, we must remove Senate for this country to be safe. I think Senate has taken us so far badly that rejection in itself, and it's good, Mr. Speaker, that they have rejected the entire thing when we have only 1 year to the election. Can that rejection eat them? Can it bring them home so that they can know that they're in their position because of the people of Kenya? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Lastly, on this one, let's have the Honorable, who had this statement? Mutunga. Or let's hear Mutunga first. Proceed, Mutunga, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I've listened very carefully to what the members are saying, expressing their discontent with the action of the Senate. Honorable Speaker, if you look closely at what Senate does, I do not pick which provision in the Constitution they follow in much of the work that they do. Senate oversights ministers or CSs, cabinet secretaries. Instead of oversighting the governors, they keep calling the cabinet secretaries to their offices. They keep calling the PSs and and ends of institutions. I do not know where this provision is, Honorable Speaker. On the other hand, Honorable Speaker, when you speak about securitization in this House, I think the common Kenyan does not understand exactly what we are talking about. Let's be simplistic enough. We have been doing roads supported by the national government under KERA, under KURA, under KENHA. But specifically under KERA, there is a 22% and a 10%, which comes from the levy. Senate has been eyeing this to pass it on to the governors. Our people know the extent to which governors have done roads in this country. They know the levels of scrutiny they do in oversighting their projects in this country. They know how thorough they are in doing these roads. The separation in terms of national, the urban roads, the highways, and the Kera roads is very clear. But Madam Speaker, you will find that the roads assigned to the governors, or in most of the countries, in most parts of the country, are actually either not done, unless where MCAs have stood their guard and forced the governor in place to give them money to do the roads. And they put such money in the budgets. It has not been happening. Madam Speaker, they used to modernize towns, put cabros on towns. We have seeing very little happening nowadays. We only see senators trying to fundraise for the governors. Madam Speaker, I've been involved in about 3 mediations. And in all the 3 mediations, there is one common factor that has been under discussion. And the common factor is how much more money do we raise for the governors. That is the relationship between Senate and the county government. Is that preserving and promoting devolution? Is that what Senate was created for? Is Senate a house to fundraise for the county governments? What about the proportion that they are given by this house? And it is declared as share of revenue that they have been given every year. That is disregarded, Honorable Speaker. Whenever there is any possibility to raise an extra coin, senators go out of their way. And sometimes mediations almost fail because we are not able to agree on proportions. Even the monies, or rather the resources that target specific commodity and specific commodity roads, they also want such roads to be managed by the governors. And we know this money is not used to do the roads. It is used to travel the world. It is used to do all other odd things. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to join my colleagues in saying that Senate is not necessary in this country. We do not need it.
Very well, Honorable Dawood, close this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Dr. Edwin has talked about the construction of the bus stops at Roysambu, Githurai, and Waidete, and the timelines. I promise to get back as soon as we are back from recess. Regarding on the Blue Post section where we need the climbing lane, I agree with him completely because I was there on Saturday and it was such a, there was a jam for 2-3 hours. So that one, I will ask the ministry to give us a reply. Regarding street lighting, as my colleagues have alluded, that is under the county government, but we will still ask Kenna about it and the footbridge. Mr. Speaker, I want to just say one thing about what the majority has talked about, the RMLF and the classification. Mr. Speaker, the classification of roads was done in 2015 when Governor Munya was the chair of the Council of Governors, and he insisted, and he had even gone to court for that. And from that time, Class A, B, and C are under the national government. Class D and going down, D, E, and unclassified are under the county government, Mr. Speaker. And when we do the roads, under 22% and 10%, we do even the county roads, as you are aware, Mr. Speaker. So we are doing most of the work which the county governments are supposed to do. And their rejection of the RMLF fund bill, it shows that they do not need that money. Counties do not need. And I've heard some of my colleagues talk about doing away with the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I had put a bill to remove the Senate and move the functions of the Senate to the county assemblies. And we then have a department in Parliament, a committee of devolution in Parliament, because when I was in the CIOC, that's what was happening, Mr. Speaker, but that bill did not go far because it was not approved by the Speaker. But I wish, if it is the feeling of honorable members that we can bring this bill. I know it's a constitutional bill which will require a referendum, but I am still willing to sponsor that bill if it is approved by the Speaker, and then we go to a referendum to remove the Senate completely. We'll remove a headache. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Just bring the bill, we shall deal with it.
Mr. Speaker, I don't have a problem. It is even in the table office. The clerk, Mr. Njoroge, knows about it, but it was not approved.
Honorable Dawood, stop name calling. Proceed.
I will bring the bill, I will ask for signatures from honorable members. So we do away with the Senate once and for all. The headache goes, let them go to the county assemblies. Let's the county assemblies, we have, even I had another bill where I was doing away with the governors. I know you are looking for governor, so that we have mayors like what we used to have, mayors of counties. So, Mr. Speaker, we will reply to this as soon as we are back from recess. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. Thank you, Honorable Dawood. Let's go back to order number 5. Call out order number 5.
Order number 5, papers.
Chair Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House. Today, Tuesday, 25th August 2026, report of the Departmental Committee on Education, Departmental Committee on Education on the approval hearings on the nominees for appointment to the position of member of the Teacher Service Commission. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee of Education in the report on the approval hearings of nominees for the appointment of members of the Teacher Service Commission, laid on the table of the House today on Tuesday, 25th August 2026, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 252B of the Constitution, Section 8.8 of the Teacher Service Commission Act, and Cap 212 and Section 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves the appointment of the following persons as members of the Teacher Service Commission. 1, Mrs. Antonina Lentoijoni, and 2, Honorable Wilson Sosion. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
What's the matter? What's out of order?
Honorable Speaker, when the order was called for chair of the Committee of Education to present papers, many of us here were sitting with anticipation of some good news that each member seated in this House now will be given 10 TSC letters to take to the constituencies. We are disappointed, very apprehensive, very disappointed that he has not done the God's work and he has left us in very bad shape. Honorable Speaker, I don't know what he has to say in respect of this matter. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, that's part of cant and banter. Next order. Yes.
Order number 8, the Creative Economy Bill, National Assembly Bill number 48 of 2026, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to nurture and support the development of the creative economy in Kenya by facilitating innovation, talent, research, and entrepreneurship in the sector, to repeal and consolidate the laws providing for establishment, functions, and management of creative economy sector institutions, to provide for government interventions to nurture, grow, and protect the creative economy sector, and for connected purposes. Order number 9, the Air Passenger Service Charge Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2026, second reading.
Majority Leader.
I'll give you, but don't sell.
Majority.
Honorable Speaker, allow me, Honorable Speaker, to move that the Air Passenger Service Charge Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2026, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, this is a very short bill that's just about 4 clauses. And the key purpose, Honorable Speaker, of this bill is to further amend the Air Passenger Service Charge Act, Honorable Speaker, that collects money from air passengers, I think about $10 per air passenger ticket. And this money, Honorable Speaker, was being collected by the collector, who is the Kenya Revenue Authority. And all this money was going to KAA, the Kenya Airports Authority. And therefore, what we seek to do now is to amend this, Honorable Speaker, so that instead of all this money going to KAA, or the Kenya Airports Authority, then KAA is forced to distribute parts of what it collects to the other agencies that we made beneficiaries of this particular levy, that we now obligate that the commissioner will remit these funds directly to the respective beneficiary entities. And this will therefore eliminate the unnecessary delays and ensure funds reach their destination smoothly. Therefore, you do not have to go through one entity to then disburse that money to the other entities. And the key beneficiaries of this fund, Honorable Speaker, is Kenya Airports Authority, the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, and the Tourism Promotion Fund. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, instead of now this money going to KAA, then KAA transfers part of the money to, remains with what is theirs, transfers part of that money to KCAA, and then the balance goes to the Kenya, the Tourism Promotion Fund. This money now, the collector or the commissioner will be able to remit directly to the 3 entities so that KAA remains with what is, gets what is due to them, KCA gets what is due to them, and the Tourism Promotion Fund also gets what is due to them. And this will, in a way, create a lot of efficiency, not in terms of just how quickly that money goes to them, but also to allow the individual entities to then be able to progress and do what they need to do with the monies that has been collected on their behalf by KAA. The other small amendments, Honorable Speaker, are just technical ones to clean up, technical cleanups. For instance, just substituting the word charges with amounts. And this very subtle correction removes the legal ambiguity and provides absolute clarity in terms of the text that has been used in the Act. Instead of using charges, we use amounts. Honorable Speaker, this bill is not a amendment bill within the meaning of Article 114 of the Constitution, and its enactment will not occasion any additional expenditure of public funds or stretch our national budget, since, as I said, it's just reapportioning what is already being collected and reapportioning to the 3 different entities. This bill also does not touch on anything to do with county governments, and therefore has nothing to deal with the Senate, Honorable Speaker, because as I said earlier, in fact, we should have legislation like this that has nothing to do with this other house called the Senate. You can imagine if this, such an important bill had to go to the Senate again, and they will reject it in totality, including the title, without reading. Honorable Speaker, I am happy that this bill has nothing to do with our county governments, and therefore will not find its way to that other house, and we'll be able to expedite with this bill. A very short bill, just 4 clauses, and Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and ask members to support this particular amendment. I said rather straightforward and well-intentioned and good in creating efficiency, accountability, and transparency in the movement of public funds that are being collected by the Commissioner on behalf of other entities. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request my very able deputy to second.
Honorable Bayer.
Thank you very much, Speaker. It's my pleasure to second the bill and beg that the Air Passenger Service Charge Amendment Bill 2026 be read a second time as I second, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, like the leader has said, this is a fairly easy bill that does one thing, brings efficiency in remittance of funds, Honorable Speaker. Well, we know that the passenger service charge is usually collected by KRA. And when KRA collects this money, then it gives the money to KAA. then KAA now gives the other beneficiaries, that is the Kenya Airports, the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority and the Tourism Promotion Fund. Honorable Speaker, this becomes a bottleneck in the distribution of these funds. And therefore, what this bill intends to do is to ensure that when the money comes from KRA, it actually goes direct to KAA, to KCAA, and the Kenya Tourism Promotion Fund, Honorable Speaker. And that is the simple thing that this fund builds. So, in essence, Honorable Speaker, this bill deletes Section 6A to allow the Commissioner to remit these funds directly to the respective beneficiaries' entities. This eliminates unnecessary delays and ensures funds reach their destination smoothly. And I think this is the way to go. Instead of having several other people, what would I say? They keep the door keeping, Honorable Speaker. We just have funds go straight to the entities. And I think that is the way to go. I think we have had the same thing. I think the President brought in the issue where counties will receive money, and now they have to give money to county assemblies. And I think we have removed that bottleneck, that county assemblies and county governments are entities that should receive money on their own without one being the head boy of the other, or the head girl of the other. That money comes from Treasury, goes to county assembly, and also goes to the county government or the county executive. And I think that is a seamless way of doing things. And therefore, I second this bill and request that we pass it within the shortest time to enable these government entities that depend on this money to function efficiently. I thank you and I second. Thank you.
Honorable members, let me propose the question, which is that the Trust Administration Bill, National Assembly Bill, number 29 of 2026, be now read a second time.
Not that one.
Ridikiri Mugambi, you can have the first bite.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of the best practices.
Order, members. I'll take that again before Ridikiri, you proceed with your contribution. I think we are on order number 9. Thank you. I proceed to propose the question, which is that the Air Passenger Service Charge Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2026, be now read a second time. Honorable Ridikiri, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was saying, one of the basic principles of a modern business transaction is to reduce the bottlenecks in between the transitions. Mr. Speaker, elimination of delays and additional time wastage is the best thing that can be done to facilitate quick development ventures. Mr. Speaker, this is very key bill, and I second that we really need to make sure that the transactions are direct to the 3 entities, so without any delay. So, Mr. Speaker, I think these are very basic principles of modern business practice that we need to quicken and support. I thank you, Madam.
Sir George, what's the point of order?
Yes. Using your discretion, after Honorable Udo possibly, understanding Order 95, this bill is very important, but totally non-controversial. We just need to pass it so that we move on and deal with the rest of the matters. I stand under 95 so that the mover would be called upon to reply and we proceed to equally important matters like this one. Thank you.
Very well, Honorable Undo.
Thank you, Sir George. Honorable Speaker, allow me to join my colleagues in supporting the bill. The Air Passenger Service Amendment Bill 2026. And as I do so, I just want to bring the attention to the people of Kenya that ordinarily when you buy an air ticket, those who are privileged enough to fly, if you are doing a foreign trip, you pay 50, equivalent $50 US, and if you are doing a local one, 600 shillings for an internal journey. Honorable Speaker, and that amount is spread, is shared between Kenya's Airports Authority, the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, and the Tourism Promotion Fund. So it's the essence of the amendment, Honorable Speaker, that while in the past you used to go to a certain channel before it's distributed, this time it's going to directly to the beneficiary organizations. However, Honorable Speaker, and he says, after deducting the expense of Kenya Revenue Authority for the collection of the charge. Honorable Speaker, probably at this particular moment, it would have been neater to set the threshold of how much KRA will charge for these services rendered. But for the purposes of expediting the process of distribution, let's support the bill. Probably if there will be any need in the committee of the whole House, we might have to set the specific amount or a percentage of how much KRA can retain for purposes of executing their duties mandated to them under the Constitution and the relevant legislation. For that, on those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Okay, you want us to put the question? You have to reply first, sorry. Honorable members, I now put the question that the mover be called to reply. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Proceed, Honorable Murugara.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as you heard, everybody supported this bill. It's quite a straightforward bill, and I beg to reply and thank all the members who have contributed.
Honorable members, I now put the question that the Air Passenger Service Charge Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2026, be read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Air Passenger Service Act and for connected purposes. Order number 10, the Trust Administration Bill, National Assembly Bill number 29 of 2026, second reading.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that the Trust Administration Bill, National Assembly Bill number 29 of 2026, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, allow me first to thank the Chair of the Jailer Committee, the Honorable Murugara, and all the members, the very many good lawyers who serve in this House and serve our country, and the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, who have considered this bill through public participation, listened to many stakeholders and members of the public, and I'm sure they have their report ready, which they will be tabling in due course. But that does not stop us, Honorable Speaker, from continuing with debate in second reading of this bill, because it's quite an important bill in the administration of trust in our country. Honorable Speaker, we have had a very archaic or very old legal framework under the Trustees Perpetual Succession Act, Cap 164, which has very poorly adopted to contemporary financial systems in today's world and modern wealth management needs and corporate governance realities of today's world. Because this is a very old law that came into being before we had a robust financial system as we do today. Honorable Speaker, again, with the robust financial systems that exist today, we have had situations where tax avoidance, money laundering, are the order of the day in today's world. Many years ago, when this law came into force, money laundering was only involved, was more rampant with people who were involved in drug trafficking or in illegal arms trade. But in today's world, Honorable Speaker, money laundering is a day-to-day affair, especially with those who are involved in illicit trade, illicit financial flows, including, Honorable Speaker, money that comes from corrupt activities. And again, with the advent of the new constitution in 2010 and the advent of devolution, you know, we got new kings called governors. and the illicit financial flows that come from our counties, Honorable Speaker, either from governors or chief officers. Many members will attest that there are many chief officers who have served in finance dockets in counties who are super rich and have used this archaic clause to launder money through trusts, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, the key objective of this bill, Honorable Speaker, is one, to provide for the creation and recognition of different forms of trusts, including charitable trusts, the non-charitable purpose trusts, and family trusts. And each of these categories in this bill has the modus of registration and is clearly provided for in the manner in which you will be able to register either a family trust under Clause 10, the non-charitable purpose trusts under Clause 9, and the charitable trusts under Clause 8 of the bill. And from Clause 8 all the way to 10, Honorable Speaker, it defines each of these categories of trusts and how they will be registered, what you need to register, the number of people that you need, either in natural persons or corporate trustees. And for the charitable and non-charitable purpose trusts under Clause 11, it says that a charitable and non-charitable purpose trust shall have at least 3 natural persons as trustees or 1 corporate trustee, so that each of these trustees that trusts that are registered, either as a charitable or non-charitable trust, other than family trust, you must have at least 3 natural persons or 1 corporate trustee. Whereas for the family trust, you shall have at least 1 trustee. Therefore, the clear distinction being that a family trust, you can have just 1 natural person, but for the charitable and non-charitable trust, you must have at least 3 natural persons or human beings, not corporate trustees. And again, Honorable Speaker, a trust shall have, where the trustees are natural persons, a trust, at least 1 trustee must be a Kenyan citizen or a resident of Kenya as prescribed in regulations that will follow this bill. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, again, to ensure that you do not have trusts where all the natural persons who are trustees are non-Kenyans or non-Kenyan citizens, the bill requires that every trust, whether it's a family trust, whether it is a charitable or non-charitable purpose trust, at least 1 person must be a Kenyan citizen as provided for in this bill. The second objective, Honorable Speaker, is to provide a very clear statutory framework governing trusts and to promote certainty, transparency, and accountability in the administration. Honorable Speaker, trusts, as I said, have been used not just for money laundering, but because of the manner in which they were being managed, many trusts, especially a few family trusts, people have been left property, and that property has ended up not benefiting the people who were intended to benefit, but benefited trustees. And therefore, this bill seeks to create that very clear statutory or legal framework that will govern how trusts are managed, what powers trustees in such trusts have, and how they can dispose of what is owned by such trusts. It also creates certainty and transparency and accountability in the administration of this trust, Honorable Speaker. The other objective is that this bill seeks to establish procedures for the registration and incorporation of trusts and provide for the issuance, refusal, and revocation of certificates by the registrar. As I said, each of the categories, whether it's a family trust, whether it's a charitable one, or a non-charitable trust, Honorable Speaker, each there is in the bill provides, without going into details, what will be required for the registration of such each category. The bill further seeks to establish clear qualifications, appointment, removal, and resignation procedures for trustees. Again, as I said, because of the archaic nature of the law that existed, we have had trusts where people become trustees in perpetuity, Honorable Speaker, and you could not remove them. And even where beneficiaries want to remove trustees because they are not serving the intended purpose of that trust, they were unable to remove them. But this bill now seeks to create that very clear qualification on who qualifies to be appointed as a trustee, the manner of the appointment, and the manner of even their removal or resignation. The bill, Honorable Speaker, further seeks to strengthen transparency by providing for registers of beneficial owners and proper accounting and record keeping by trusts. Again, Honorable Speaker, I said because of the ambiguity that existed in the old law, it was never clear who are the beneficial owners of trusts. And this bill now seeks to provide that there will be a clear register of the beneficial owners, and there will be proper accounting and bookkeeping or record keeping by trusts, so that it is clear who ought to have what under such a trustee. One of the other key aspects or key objectives of this bill, Honorable Speaker, as I said, is to combat illicit financial flows, ensuring that all domestic trust instruments cannot, under any circumstances, be maliciously subverted for money laundering or tax evasion strategies, because as I said again, we have seen people registering trusts either to move illicit financial flows or to facilitate the movement of illicit financial gains or financial flows, or to subvert payment of taxes. Therefore, this bill seeks to ensure that we tie all the knots to ensure that trust will no longer be used to subvert our tax laws, or indeed subvert our combation or our fight against illicit financial flows. Honorable Speaker, as I said, this bill also seeks to move with the modern financial architecture in the world, because people have become very creative and very innovative. You remember, Honorable Speaker, we just enacted the Anti-Money Laundering Act last year but one. And therefore, we need to realign this law also to ensure that it aligns to the Anti-Money Laundering Act that is already in place, to ensure that trusts are not being used to facilitate illicit financial flows or money laundering. Honorable Speaker, the bill introduces distinct operational criteria, as I said, for the three major classifications, that is the charitable trust, the non-charitable purpose trust, and family trusts. Clause 11, as I had mentioned, Honorable Speaker, sets the minimum number of people, natural persons that will be there under each of the categories, creating a clear distinction between the non-charitable purpose trust and charitable trust to have at least 3 natural persons as trustees, and family trust to have at least 1 natural person as a trustee. Honorable Speaker, the bill legally formalizes the
also provides that trustees must retain precise records and accounting data for a minimum period of 7 years. That record must be there. You know, some people destroy records and run away and say there was no record, but records must be kept. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, this bill provides a modern, watertight legislative architecture that seals the loopholes historically used to hide illicit wealth or evade tax liabilities through unregulated trust. Now we are regulating trust. You cannot evade taxes. You cannot run away from responsibility of the trust, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, by anchoring strict penalties of up to 20 million, and this is fundamental, 20 million fine for rogue corporate trustees. Honorable Speaker, if we have a rogue corporate trustee, Honorable Speaker, you'll be fined up to 20 million and mandating the registrar of beneficial owners that you have to run a clean trust. You have to run a transparent trust. You have to run a trust within a global competitive financial destination, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I second and request members of this House, the gallant soldiers and men and women in this House, to support this bill so that we have a robust financial management system within the trust in this country. I beg to second.
Because the leadership agrees that trust by their very nature are very good things. And so we are just regulating to make it work better for our country. All members, I propose the question that the Trust Administration Bill, National Assembly Bill number 29 of 2026, be now read a second time. The member for Chepalungu, I want to hear from you on this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. As I rise as well to support the bill that is before us, it is paramount as well, Honorable Speaker, that we realize the importance of this particular bill, that we not only trust by believing, but now we trust by having regulations laid down properly on who is going to govern the trust that people live. Honorable Speaker, we have had many challenges, we have had many court cases, only by a mere person believing in one person based on trust. And to that effect, Honorable Speaker, this particular bill is very clear, it is very straight, it's non-controversial, that it is better for this country now to have a better regulation and rules that is going to govern the creation and the management, and wherever there is need for closure, the closure for trust that people have. Honorable Speaker, I would like to rise and to support this particular bill. Thank you.
I'll say the member for Tigania West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to support this bill. Honorable Speaker, this is a very important bill that we are discussing this time. Honorable Speaker, we've been having many trusts that are not properly guided, and it has presented various forms of challenges. And this bill comes in, or rather tries to propose a law that is going to clear up some of those challenges and ensure that we are able to deal with the issues as it were. Honorable Speaker, coming to the bill itself, it gives very clear interpretation of the terms that are going to be used, in the sense that I took particular interest to get to know whether we are very clear in terms of the issues that have been befalling some of the trusts. Honorable Speaker, I've served in a trust in two instances. One, a trust that has put together a university, and another one, an Eastern African Agricultural Development Trust, where I am still a member of the trustee. I'm still a trustee. And it has, when we came to trying to register a trust in Kenya, it became very difficult because there was no law. So we had to invoke the NGO law to try and register this trust. And therefore, this law comes in to help in resolving quite a number of problems. Honorable Speaker, in the specifications, the trust law, or the proposed law, basically tries to specify the different types of trusts that are likely. Charitable trust for purposes of development, for purposes of organizing, organizing funds that are for charity, trusts that are built as a result of non-charitable purposes, and those that are family-based, and others which have been specified in this particular bill, which therefore tries to clearly distinguish the types of trusts that you can deal with. And I would like to say that I find the bill fairly comprehensive in terms of those specifications. Madam Speaker, when it comes to requirements and the content of the trustee of the trust deed that is supposed to be signed between by the membership, or rather by the owners of the trust, I find the bill fairly informative, especially in view of clauses 22 to 27, where the bill clearly deals with the registration of the trust and spells out the requirements for registration, the contents of the trust themselves, and also the effect of registration. Madam Speaker, this bill has come in to try and clear the issues that have been there. People have been developing trust deeds without clear guidance, without clear anchoring on a clear framework, and that has presented challenges in the past. When you look at Part 4 of this particular bill, Honourable Speaker, the bill contains provisions relating to the property of a trust. And this is where the bone of contention always is when it comes to management of the property, and especially when probably this is managed by a third party or for and on behalf of other people who are not particularly interest parties, do not have interest in the trust itself. And this provision is clear and is important in trying to safeguard the trust itself for and on behalf of the owners. Madam Speaker, I take particular interest in clauses in Part 7, which basically deals with the duties and the general powers of a trustee in relation to their trusteeship and the trust property and the beneficiaries. Where property is concerned and where swindling of the beneficiary is in focus, this area has been terribly misused. People have been swindled property. People have lost a lot of resources as a result of having trustees that are not very honest and that are not properly grounded by the provisions of a law that would clearly spell out the penalties if they basically do not do their business as it's supposed to be. We have had collusion in the past in cases where members of a trustee end up distributing or sharing the property of trust, and therefore basically swindling the owners of such property. The idea of defining the beneficiaries and the managing, the trust on behalf of the beneficiaries is clearly acted upon in this particular law. Madam Speaker, when I look at the Part 8 of the bill is very clear in providing for remunerations. And this is another area which has been changing over time. Remunerations, indemnity, and liabilities of the trustees themselves. The remunerations of the trustees may change if there is no proper guideline. And the law, therefore, clearly specifies how this remuneration is going to be conducted, what kind of, how indemnity is going to be handled, and how liabilities are also going to be dealt with in terms of this particular bill. Honourable Speaker, looking at the entire bill and generally looking at what has been happening in the past, I believe this bill comes in to resolve the many problems that have been there, to build trust to the people and to institutions that may want to incorporate a trust, and therefore to also define clearly how trustees are going to manage these institutions so that we can have progressive investment in trustees as an option. And with that, those very few remarks, Honourable Speaker, I do support.
Thank you. Member for Buri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think this is a very important bill because there are a lot of properties that are left in trusts money is left in trust, money, properties, land, assets are left in trust, and the cetra's mind is to have the continuity of these properties. Mr. Speaker, being entrusted with this create a very important in the future of one's property. My church has a lot of property, and this property is managed by a trustee. Many social groupings have trustees of the activities and the money that they have. One of the greatest problems that has been there is the guidance on how the management of the trusts is being conducted. And this bill sets that. It sets the system through which the trustees will manage the trust property that has been entrusted to them. In many cases, the cetra imagines how its beneficiaries will come and will take the advantage of the property that they have. In the mind of the cetra, Mr. Speaker, the beneficiaries needs protection. The beneficiaries need to be guaranteed that what the cetra earned in mind will be achieved. And therefore, this bill is taking very keen interest to the beneficiaries. Mr. Speaker, some properties are just left without the correct legal entities, and therefore, this bill sets the criteria under which these people will be able to legalize the documentation of the properties that the cetra left behind. So in a nutshell, Mr. Speaker, this bill is very important. It sets the strong foundation on a new way of looking at the trusts and the way, and I think this is what is very important. This government of Kenya has been entrusted by international donors on the money that comes. That's the broad and general and broad perspective. So I think this bill is going to create confidence in the way the trust property will be managed in the future when the cetra is unable to manage or when the cetra has since vacated this earth. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Nambale.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak on this particular very important bill. Honorable Speaker, this is a very important bill to Kenyans because we have not had a proper roadmap, on registration of trust in this country. There have been a lot of confusion on whether a trust being created is a charitable trust, family trust, non-charitable trust, because the current legislation on registration of trust does not specifically specify the types of trust that one is supposed to register. And that's the reason why we have had many people using trust as vehicles to hide ill-gotten properties so that they can run away from government. And you look at clause 22, it gives a proper roadmap on how one can proceed and register trust. This has never been there before because it gives even a requirement what's supposed to contain on the trust deed so that you disclose the purpose of the trust, the property to be put under trust, and even the purpose, and even the beneficial owner as it is in registration of companies. So that
we know that this trust was registered by so and so for this particular purpose, and these are the beneficial owners, or these are the people, the trustees, who are responsible for, if there's any question to be raised, there are people to be followed legally. I therefore, having perused the act, I support that it's a very important bill that is going to provide a clear roadmap to Kenyans, so that it even makes it easier for any person wishing to register a trust to move and register without any other hindrances. And also, you will note, Honorable Speaker, that in this particular bill, by differentiating a family trust and non-charitable trust and charitable trust, you will note that even the churches we have are registered, some are registered as trusts. And you find that when a church is registered in Nairobi here, they have branches in Busia or Kilifi. Those subsidiary churches, they want to own property. It becomes a problem for them because they must go to the mother church to provide them with the certificate so that they can also own a piece of land, which has been very difficult. That's why we have had many people in church fighting over properties. But when you have a clear legal framework where trust can operate, it will benefit our citizens. I therefore support this particular bill.
Honorable Speaker, I stand on standing order number 96 and move that the debate be now adjourned in view of the seriousness of the matter. And the need to fast.
The member Funyula stood on his seat, starting order number 96, that because of the importance of this matter, that instead of asking the member to reply now, we adjourn debate. Is that the mood of the House? Yes. I therefore put the question that the debate on the Trust Administration Bill, National Assembly Bill number 29 of 2026, be now adjourned. As many of that opinion say aye. As many of that opinion say nay. Ayes have it. The debate on the bill is therefore accordingly adjourned to the next time it's laid in the other paper.
Order number 11, the Power of Mercy Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2025, second reading, resumption of debate, adjourned.
Funyola, were you on this also? Because there's someone with the floor, so the first bite, then this afternoon goes to. There was no one on the floor, and therefore this chance goes to the member for Funyola to proceed with the debate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me at this onset stand to support the bill, the Power of Mercy Bill 2025, National Assembly, Bill number 56. Honorable Speaker, the bill is before us in pursuant to Article 133 of the Constitution of Kenya that grants the President of the Republic of Kenya the power of mercy for those convicted, jailed, or found the wrong side of the law. Honorable Speaker, I just want to start by reading the definition of the word mercy as presented in clause 2 of the respective bill. Means compassion or forgiveness shown towards an offender by the president. Forgiveness, compassion or forgiveness shown to an offender by the president. The Constitution of Kenya contemplates, and this has been even since independence, that there could be a conviction that requires some form of mercy, excess of the power of mercy by the President of the Republic of Kenya. In the Constitution that we promulgated in 2010, it provided very elaborate procedures to ensure that the power this power of mercy is not abused by the person who is entitled to make those, to exercise that power. Honorable Speaker, it also provides for pardon, means grant of mercy that permits an offender who has completed their sentence and demonstrated that a law-abiding citizen for a prescribed number of years to have all records pertaining to the criminal conviction be kept separate and apart from other records. Honorable Speaker, in this country, and probably elsewhere in the world, there are very many people serving in our correction facilities, serving in our prisons, who on the balance of evidence available could have been wrongly convicted, who by any chance could have been convicted because of false testimony. There has been very many cases where witnesses have come much, much later to recount their evidence that was wrongly used to convict people for no apparent reason. Honorable Speaker, as I stand here today, there was a case of mob arson sometimes in 2024 in my constituency. One of a boy who was just watching out of curiosity was found within the scene and is now serving 10 years in prison for an offense he was not party to. He was only a curious witness, a curious onlooker. And that's why in the wisdom that all constitutions in the world gives the president the power to pardon people who have been convicted after following the due process. Honorable Speaker, it also provides for remission, which means a grant of mercy that allows an offender to be released from imprisonment on the basis of good conduct, with the effect that all or part of the punishment is cancelled. Honorable Speaker, when you commit an offense, you are just it's not necessarily a bad person. You have been forced to make that commit an offense for various reasons. A mistake should not be a lifelong punishment, and that's why for me where I stand and sit, I don't support death penalty. Because death penalty is a finality. You have no reason for you to correct your mistakes and get rehabilitated in the society. It's not even a punishment, so to speak. It's an end to your matter. So that even later in life, if it was found that you are convicted wrongly, we cannot restitute life that has already been taken out. Honorable Speaker, the bill has got very, very good provisions. It says that a vulnerable offender is one of the conditions can be considered. And a vulnerable offender means a female with a child under the age of 2 years or who is pregnant, or over the age of 60 years, like quite a number of us members who are here. If you are convicted and you are over 60 years, that's a fertile ground for you to seek the power of mercy from the president. You are terminally ill, or you are permanently disabled. Honorable Speaker, on the issue of female with a child under the age of 2 years or who is pregnant, that's a point of debate that we need to debate very carefully, because they can collude between a female prisoner and a male prisoner warder to do what they can do to make sure the prisoner gets benefits from the same. Honorable Speaker, Clause 5.4 provides that the member of the advisory committee appointed on this section shall serve as part-time basis for a single term of 5 years. Honorable Speaker, now what's out of order? Open of information.
You want to be informed
the moderator can inform me.
Honorable Speaker, you know, I didn't want to interrupt my good friend Oundo, but just to inform him that I heard him say that 2 prisoners can collude to do the necessary to be able to benefit from this if you are pregnant. And of course, he's a doctor. He knows pregnancy comes from conjugal rights that prisoners in Kenya do not enjoy. Therefore, just to inform the member for Funyula that prisoners in Kenya do not enjoy the rights to their conjugal rights while serving their sentences in prison. So they may not collude as just to allay his fears that there may be collusion between, maybe unless there's collusion between a prisoner and a sentry, the wardens at the prisons.
But where would they do that?
But they, again, is also illegal. There are no conjugal rights. And sexual intercourse in prisons is not allowed.
Where would they do that?
What do you mean?
This sentry and prisoner, where would they be doing this?
Honorable Speaker, you know, I have seen instances where in Kakamega Forest, the park in Kakamega Forest, they used benches. So don't asking where they would do it, Honorable Speaker. I'm just stretching my imagination. But the point is, I wanted to inform Oundo that it is illegal. Prisoners in Kenya do not have conjugal rights, unlike in some countries in the West where people enjoy conjugal rights while in prison. Here you do not enjoy, and therefore you must avoid going to prison.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Sir George, you also want to inform the Honorable Oundo, or?
Finally, I'll get...
Just to inform the House faster than Honorable Oundo, that in the famous Murua Tetu case, remember the sentence was death for the three of them, and they were all from custody. But there was a lady in between them who actually raised her hand and said, sorry, I'm expectant, so I cannot be sentenced to death. And everybody in the country was asking, how did she become expectant? So it is not a conjunction on the part of the leader majority. These things happen. They are not very common, but we are human beings. Honorable Oundo, be happy that we are not abolishing the death sentence in the NCAJ bills that I tabled reports this later, I think early this afternoon, on amendments to the Penal Code and the Criminal Procedure Code. What we are doing is to remove the mandatory death sentence, such that the judge has a discretion to sentence you to death or give you life imprisonment, depending on the circumstances under which you committed the offense. Because judges have been complaining, mandatory death sentence is not judicial. They do not have a discretion. They must thus have that discretion. Thank you.
You are informed.
Informed, but if you went to school, there was osmosis. And Sir George knows it can also happen through osmosis, Honorable Speaker. In any case, I'm very well guided and informed. Honorable Speaker, Article Clause 12 of the bill, Provac has a very curious provision that we might have to read the report of JLAC to understand how to treat it. It provides that despite Section 1, Subsection 1, in the performance of its duty functions, the advisory committee shall not be bound by the strict rules of evidence. We will need to be very clear, because this evidence-based, the person who was convicted based on the presented evidence. If we do not follow the strict provisions of evidence, the rules of evidence, it means then we'll continue with the same systematic mistake and we might end up in the same problem. Honorable Speaker, probably might have to question the wisdom of a full-fledged secretariat, considering that this advisory committee will be domiciled in the office of the president. We might have to ask the necessity of a full-fledged secretariat, yet there's some work that can be done. And in addition, Honorable Speaker, we have the Power of Mercy Case Management Committee in each correctional facility. We might just have duplication of roles that are basically not necessary, Honorable Speaker. Of course, Honorable Speaker, I want you to be very clear, and I'll need this further, because when you go to Clause 28, the bill makes reference to positions in the public service that are not provided for in the Constitution. For example, they say, Honorable Speaker, in Clause 28, one of the bodies to be consulted is the Directorate of Criminal Investigation. Honorable Speaker, when you go to Article 239 of the Constitution of Kenya, the security organs is Kenya Defense Forces, National Intelligence Services, and National Police Services. Of course, everybody will ask, where does the Criminal Investigation Agency come in a matter that surely looks more like a constitutional provision, not a matter of legislation? Honorable Speaker, in the same clause 28(5), it provides among the people who are eligible for the exercise of the preserve of the power of mercy are sexual offenders. Honorable Speaker, I just hope in the committee of the whole House, one of the amendments that must have provided by JLAC is to remove any chance as a sexual offender and a serial sexual offender can be given, can benefit from the prerogative of the president on the mercy, on that. Also, again, Honorable Speaker, violent offenders who cause serious bodily harm to the victim where the offense was found to be motivated by discrimination, including gender-based discrimination, gender-based violence, female genital mutilation, domestic violence, ethnic-based violence, or violence against persons with disability. Honorable Speaker, on that I will have to move an amendment because that's abuse of the prerogative of power of mercy by the president. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, we need as a country to look at our judicial system, our prosecution system. Honorable Speaker, I can guess, Honorable Speaker, even if you go to the
I don't want 2 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, if you walk to many of these prisons, and I'll start with the prison in Busia, Korinda, I can bet there are people who are wasting space in prisons for very petty offenses. If you are arrested in taking Samia gin or Nguri, that cannot be an offense warranting you to go and rot in prison. That's an offense they can just make you stand, you sober up, and continue the activities, Honorable Speaker. There are some things that don't, then there is also, you would find the policeman, will find you walking in the evening late at night, they arrest you for loitering with the intent to commit an offense. Because they cannot prove that offense, they can plant on you some basic things like bang and the kind of thing. We seriously as a country, and Sir George, I want to challenge you, before you go to become the governor of Tharaka Nithi County. You know Tharaka, the votes from Tharaka always used to unsettle the election results. Please sit down with your committee, plus the judiciary, plus the office of the prosecutor or the DPP. Let's look at the offenses that can take somebody to prison. There's a provision in the law for community work. It would be much, much, much easier and more effective and beneficial to the community if those arrested for pet offenses can be called upon to do community work, like assisting the county governments that cannot even collect garbage, yet they receive billions and billions of money every day. Those arrested loitering around Funyula town, the mountain garbage in Funyula town, they can be told to pick the same. Instead of taking them to Korinda, wasting people's time, going to go there, get them out, it does not make economic sense. Let's have effective use of our resources. When Uncle Moody was the Minister for Interior, Uncle Moody, he's the one who brought beds in prisons. So majority leader, the beds there can be used to do so many things. It is not confined alone for sleeping. We can as well continue. Because not all prisoners are bad. They are just there. By unfortunate incidents, they can still have children who are very good citizens of this country. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support the bill.
The Honorable Murugara. Murugara. The Honorable Murugara, it turns out that you already contributed on this bill. No, you did already, so. He's not on the floor anymore, and you know that you can only inform him if he's on his feet. He's I gave you already. The Honorable Order. After the Honorable Jude informing the Honorable Undo, I gave a chance to inform him, didn't I? And said, yes, so let's leave it at that. The Honorable Mutunga, do you want to contribute to this? You did. So, the Honorable Bayer, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support this bill. I think this is a very progressive piece of legislation, Honorable Speaker, that tries to amend the Power of Mercy Bill 2025. Honorable Speaker, I think it is very important that we give effect to articles of our Constitution. And this is one such bill, that Article 133 of the Constitution provides for the appointment, tenure of office of the members of the Advisory Committee on Power of Mercy and the powers and functions of the Advisory Committee on the Power of Mercy for connected purposes. I think this is a very progressive piece of legislation. The Power of Mercy office, there is a department called the Power of Mercy. If you go to the building, the National Library, I think it's at the National Library, you go there, you will actually find the offices of the Power of Mercy, which is an extension of the office of the President. But now we are giving legislation to give effect to that constitutional provision. I think that's an important thing. So that the Power of Mercy Secretariat that you see at that building now has a legal framework within which to operate. And I think this is a good beginning. And I think it is important, like my friend Dr. Oundo has said, it is very important that sometimes offenders get into, or prisoners are imprisoned sometimes not because of offenses that they committed, but just because by law or by operation of law or by some misjudgment somewhere, they end up in prison. And sometimes these prisoners actually they're actually not criminals, but they are there, and they should get a leeway in which they can get out. Sometimes prison sentences are imposed that as long-term prison sentences. But as a person stays in prison, he becomes a reformed person. Continuing to keep that prisoner in that prison, Honorable Speaker, then you are actually curtailing the rights of this person. And that's why the framers of our Constitution and the makers of our Constitution thought it wise that they bestow the power of mercy on the President. But this law does not just allow power of mercy to be exercised by the President alone, but this law provides a mechanism in which to arrive at the decision at the end where power of mercy is exercised. And I think that's an important thing, because the President cannot just come to a prison and say, you and you and you and you are pardoned, go out. He cannot do that. There has to be a mechanism, a foolproof mechanism to say, this one can be pardoned. This one can benefit from power of mercy. This one can benefit from power of mercy. And that's why this bill is important. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, it is also important to note which offenses cannot benefit from power of mercy. I've read Section 28, for which my brother, Dr. Oundo, talked about. But there is this Section 28. The President may, pursuant to Article 133(1) B of the Constitution, on the advice of the Advisory Committee, grant a conditional pardon. A conditional pardon. The President may give conditional pardon in case of a misdemeanor where the convicted offender has served at least 1/3 of the custodial sentence. In B, it says, in case of a felony where the convicted offender has served at least 15 years of the custodial sentence, in case of an offender serving an indeterminate sentence, or 1/3 in case of an offender serving determinate sentence. And then it comes to the areas where my brother Oundo was talking about in 5. And I think these are important things, Honorable Speaker. Despite Section 3, the following offenders who have served a determinate sentence, including habitual offenders who have committed 2 or more felonies, sexual offenders, violent offenders, all these, I want to agree with Honorable Undo, should never be pardoned. A sexual offender is most likely to repeat that offense when he is released. And again, there are some offenses that when you release that person, he comes back because of power of mercy. That family that was subject of that offense, Honorable Speaker, seeing that person having been pardoned, you actually reduce the exercise of justice. You know, you enjoy justice when the offender has been offended. You say, finally, I got justice. When somebody kills another person and that person is jailed, the family will say, finally, we've got justice. Then, 1 year, 3 years down the line, the person comes out to walk scot-free because he has been pardoned. How restitution, justice, you know, is also part of restitution, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, it is very important that these offenses be removed from the list of those who can benefit from the prerogative of mercy of the president. That I agree. And I think, Sir George, being a senior counsel, being a member who has a very sharp mind and is intelligent enough to understand that these are offices we should not exercise power of mercy on. Honorable Speaker, the President may pass on to Article 133(1)(c) of the Constitution on the advice of the Advisory Committee and on a petition being made pursuant to Section 26, substitute a less severe form of punishment on medical grounds. Honorable Speaker, there are people out there in our prisons who, even that imprisonment does not serve the purpose for it because they are terminally ill. You know, they are on medical grounds. They suffer from an incurable terminal illness or a highly contagious disease. The prerogative of power of mercy can be exercised, Honorable Speaker. If a person is entirely incapacitated, requiring assistance with the activities of daily living, that person can enjoy the prerogative of power of mercy. If a person is of advanced age, that person should enjoy power. Is critically ill or is pregnant. The Honorable Leader said this is debatable. How does someone become pregnant in prison? How does someone become pregnant in prison? Yes. Osmosis. We only know one person in this world who got pregnant without having had the act that leads to pregnancy. Only one. The mother of Jesus. And I have not heard of any other osmosis pregnancy until the one that Honorable Mayaka is talking about. Honorable Speaker, these are enough grounds. A person is pregnant and is in prison, is a lactating mother or the sole caretaker of a dependent child. Honorable Speaker, I think power of mercy could be exercised in this. Honorable Speaker, it is very important to say, if you have read the book by Dr. Ksowski, the one called Crime and Punishment, crime must be punished. Crime must be punished. Crime against a citizen must be punished. Crime against the state must be punished. But even when we do that, we must do it in such a way that it is not a complete sentence out of life, out of society, and that is why the framers of our Constitution introduced Article 133, that we can actually exercise. And it is very important to note that this prerogative of power of mercy was given to the highest office. It was not given to any other person, the highest office. But that highest office was not just given blanket. There are structures that this power of mercy must be exercised within. And within those structures, then we bequeath as the 13th Parliament this law that must guide those structures, those people who have been given the authority to help the head of state to exercise power of mercy. And therefore, with all those things that I have said, Honorable Speaker, I am convinced that this is a good law. It is actually an expression of constitutional articles, and that we are giving effect to that constitutional. And I think this 13th Parliament should go into history as one that gave a lot of effect to many constitutional articles. Honorable Speaker, I support.
Okay. The Honorable Bishop Kosgei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the onset, I want to support this bill on three outstanding explanations that is coming out. Number one, the interpretation of Article 133 in our Constitution is necessary to be given legislative attention in order to facilitate the constitutional right provided for through the hand of the president or the leader of the country. Mr. Speaker, it has been said there are people in jail today who are supposed to be outside, and there are those roaming around who are supposed to be in. And it is because of the facts provided at that time, and also over time, people reform, and it is found to be morally right to revisit the same. This particular article gave room for such an opportunity to give such people a second time. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill has come at an opportune time. The second reason that has come out is that, you know, our prisons are so congested and people are increasing with many petty crimes around. And I think this particular interpretation of the law and making it possible for some people to have them out to decongest the prison, of course, without compromising those factors that put them there, that they will not repeat it once again. If a clear sign of reformation has been given or has been witnessed, then they deserve to have the mercy of the president. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it is observed that while exercising this, there are some new development of disabilities in people, that even when you exercise the usual way of restraining using law, they may require a deeper understanding on why some people do what they do. Some of them are an internal impairment that they will never learn a lesson anyway. So there could be some other alternative ways of helping the same. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I support the bill.
The Honorable Jalas, do you want to speak on this? The Honorable Jalas, do you want to speak on this? The Honorable Felix Odiwuor, because I can see you're queuing to speak. Not on this one, okay. Members, there being no further interest on this, I would request the majority leader to reply. The Honorable Murugara, you have the honor of being the majority leader today.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Order.
Honorable Speaker.
Order. The member for Kabondo Kasipul, I don't see your card.
I don't have it with me, but I would like to speak on the bill.
On the Power of Mercy bill?
Yes.
Go ahead. Just indulge us for a few minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also add my voice to this bill. Mr. Speaker, at onset, I support the bill. I note that the bill provides a clear legal framework governing the exercise of power of mercy in Kenya, focusing on pardons, commutations, remission of sentences, and related presidential prerogatives, while at the same time enhancing transparency, consistency, and accountability. Mr. Speaker, the key provisions I've noted to be merit and criteria for consideration. It establishes the principle guiding mercy decisions such as length of sentence, reserved behavior, humanitarian grounds, and impact of the victim. So through the other provision is on the Independent Advisory Committee, which is a good thing, which creates a power of mercy committee, and it will receive and screen petitions. It will make recommendations to the president, ensure consistent application and mercy standards. And the committee members I've noted is drawn from the government and so civil society and subject matter experts. Mr. Speaker, the pros of this bill, Mr. Speaker, one is it will promote transparency and fairness in the exercise of mercy powers. Two, it will also ensure consistent standards in the decision making and enhance accountability to the public and also to us, to Parliament. And it gives a victim a structured voice in mercy processes. Mr. Speaker, it also encourages rehabilitation and humane treatment of offenders. Mr. Speaker, however, I've noted that there could be, not necessarily that there are challenges, but there could be challenges, Mr. Speaker. One, that it requires adequate resourcing for the advisory committee and administrative functions. Mr. Speaker, another possible challenge is that victim participation could complicate or lengthen the process. The third one is striking or finding the right balance between mercy and public safety may be at times complex. And finally, implementation depends on political will and procedural discipline. And we've seen this in several other issues, similar issues. Mr. Speaker, with those, I know that you are concluding on this debate. I wish to state again that I support. Thank you.
Honourable Speaker.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, listening to the members and the debate on this particular bill, Honourable Speaker, we are not differing in anything. We are actually paraphrasing now. I will propose
Order.
that Honourable Speaker,
Order. Honourable Mutunga, take your seat. Just take your seat. Order. Take your seat. Honourable Murugara, could you proceed to reply?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank each and every member who has made a contribution to this. This is a very important piece of legislation. And it has a long checkered history, right from the royalty in England all the way up to where we are today, exercising first and foremost, it was called the presidential prerogative. Now it is the power of mercy, defined in different ways. It's important to emphasize that our prisons really are not punitive anymore. In fact, we are calling them correctional facilities. You go in there not to be punished for the offense you've committed and convicted of, but to be corrected so that you come out a reformed person. So, when you exercise this power of mercy, it is going to extend to all offenses, but with certain conditions, including murderers now. And it may not be fair to call them murderers, though once they are convicted of murder, they become murderers. Once you are convicted of murder and you are sentenced to a prison term, say 10 years, for reasons we are setting out in the bill, you'll be actually eligible to apply for remission or for the power of mercy to be in your favor. We have also talked about sexual offenses. And here we have to make it very clear, not all sexual offenses are as callous as some of which we have in mind. I know the debaters are worried about rapists who may apply to be released on power of mercy, or those who've committed defilement. However, sexual offenses are quite extensive, especially to ladies, men and ladies, including what is called indecent assault. We have some other offenses which are not clear to all of us, like indecent exposure. All these are sexual offenses. Some of them are lesser, and therefore you'll be entitled to apply. Others are grave, and therefore we have put a 5-year cap that you can only do it after you have served 5 years or more of your term in prison. So all this is going to come out when we move to the Committee of the Whole House, where we will be making proposals for amendments, and those proposals are a raft. If you have keen interest in this, look at the report by Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and also attend the third reading of the bill, when actually you now understand what law we shall be putting in place. With those remarks, I beg to reply.
Honourable members, after that, I can reply. I therefore put the question that the Power of Mercy Bill, also Assembly Bill number 56 of 2025, be now read a second time. Will, as many of the opinion say aye, and those of the opinion say nay. Ayes have it. Next order.
A bill for an act of parliament to make further provisions with respect to the power of mercy pursuant to Article 133 of the Constitution to provide for the appointment, tenure, powers, and functions of Power of Mercy Advisory Committee and for connected purposes. Order number 12, motion, consideration of sessional paper number 4 of 2026 on the National Petroleum Policy, resumption of debate.
Member for Nambale, on behalf of the Chairperson, Department Committee on Energy, you're on your feet, I think moving this motion for debate?
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable. Let me proceed from where we had reached on 19th August, when is 2026. Honorable Speaker, this is the sessional paper number 4 of 2026 on the National Petroleum Policy. And Honorable Speaker, having moved the motion, I had reached to a point where we are pointing out the concerns raised by the committee. Honorable Speaker, the committee supports the policy, but it raised the following serious concerns. Number one, costs without a financing plan. The policy will cost an estimated Kenya shilling 68.29 billion to implement. However, it carries no finance strategy, no funding commitments, and no way of ranking priorities. The committee recommends a time-bound implementation plan with clear performance indicators and a proper financing and resource mobilization strategy with periodic reporting to Parliament. Honorable Speaker, the second issue is transparency, a framework that this House legislated but which has never been implemented. Section 119 of the Petroleum Act 2019 established a transparency and accountability framework. 6 years later, it has not been operationalized. The policy is also silent on Kenya joining the extractive industries transparency initiative and makes no provision for public disclosure of petroleum contracts, revenues, or beneficial ownership. The committee therefore held that the implementation matrix even treats public participation as optional. The committee recommends that the framework be operationalized and that the Cabinet Secretary submits a position paper on Kenya's access to the initiative. Number 3, the Petroleum Revenues and Sovereign Wealth Fund. The policy provisions on revenue management are not developed enough to support stabilization of revenues or wealth for the future generation, and they make no reference to the Sovereign Wealth Fund Bill 2026, which was read the first time in this House on 11th March 2026 and is now an act of parliament. That act proposes a fund with stabilization component, an infrastructure and development component, and a future generation component. The committee recommends that the policy be aligned with the bill once enacted, and this is important. Mr. Speaker, that petroleum revenue going into the fund be first paid into consolidated fund and appropriated by this House in accordance with the Article 206 of the Constitution. Number 4, provision of the policy that is contrary to the law. The committee found that the policy places custody of upstream petroleum data with the ministry. Section 10D of the Energy Act 2019 expressly assigns that function to the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The policy is therefore inconsistent with the statute. The committee recommends that the policy be revised within 6 months to vest petroleum data custody and oversight in the authority and confirm the separation of policy, regulatory and commercial function between the ministry and the authority and the National Oil Corporation. Number 5, local content and lessons from the Turkana. The local content provisions are broad with no measurable targets, no timelines, and no enforcement. The committee was reminded of the early oil pilot scheme in Turkana, where local employment was limited, capacity building was lacking, and local business barely featured in the supply chain. Without firm local content rules, this sector risks becoming an enclave industry. The committee recommends a robust local content framework with clear targets, monitoring, and capacity building. Number 6, community land consent. Where community land has been registered under the Community Land Act 2016, communities now hold legal authority over that land. The committee recommends stronger provisions on host community engagement and protection of the community rights throughout the life of the petroleum project. Number 7, environmental safeguards. The committee heard of the communities in Turkana exposed to contaminated hazardous waste liners and of poor disposal and decommissioning in Lamu. The National Oil Spill Contingency Plan remains largely unimplemented. The policy also omits environmental deposit bonds, even though regulations for them already exist under the EMA and EMA. NEMA is missing from the decommissioning process in the implementation matrix. The committee recommends binding safeguards on hazardous waste, oil spills, preparedness, decommissioning, and restoration, and that NEMA be expressly designated the principal environmental regulator at every stage of the petroleum operation. Number 8, consumer and security of supply. Honorable Speaker, because we import almost all our fuel, global price shocks are felt directly by the mwananchi. The policy does not provide for transparent pricing, consumer presentation in tariff reviews, or protection against market manipulation. The committee recommends stronger energy security measures, including strategic petroleum reserves and the diversified supply, stronger consumer protection and oversight of petroleum pricing. Lastly, inclusion and data and standards. The policy has no express provision on gender equality, disability, and social inclusion. It also lacks a petroleum data governance framework, cybersecurity standards, and adequate emphasis on engineering standards and professional certification. The committee recommends that this be mainstreamed and that a national petroleum data repository with data over sovereignty protections be developed. Honorable Speaker, having considered all the submissions and observations, the committee recommends as follows. Number one, the House adopt this report on sessional paper number 4 of 2026 on the National Petroleum Policy. Number two, that following the adoption of the policy, all proposed legislation on oil and gas matters be guided by the policy. And lastly, that the Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum, the Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority, the National Environmental Management Authority, and other relevant state agencies implement the directives set out in the report, and that the Cabinet Secretary reports to the committee on the progress made within 12 months of the adoption of this report. Honorable Speaker, having moved the report, I beg, having laid the report, I beg to move and request the House to adopt the report. I now also invite the Honorable Member Victor Koech, the Honorable Member for Chepalungu, to second.
The member for Chepalungu, the Honorable Victor Koech.
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. As I rise, I would like to proceed to second, and as I do so, Honorable Speaker, allow me then to make a few observations that have been left out by the mover of the motion. Chair, with any other session of papers that this House considers, the Speaker of this House then had put to the committee, and we did a proper public participation that was both quantitative and qualitative. And having analyzed all the observation and all the submissions that were made by the witnesses that appeared before us, we made clear observations, and the recommendation as has been read out and has been laid out by the mover of this particular motion. And in particular, Honorable Speaker, without repeating myself, I would like to put to this House, and as I associate myself fully with what has been said, without necessarily repeating myself, allow me, the Honorable Speaker, instead to draw the attention of the House to a further matter that the committee considered. This, Honorable Speaker, it cuts across.
Order. The Honorable mover of this bill and the member on his feet now. I will allow you to do what you're doing now, but next time I won't allow you to read your submissions word for word. You will proceed that way today, but in future don't do that. Proceed.
Thank you. Well guided, Honorable Speaker. Like I was saying, without repeating myself, I would like to put across to the floor of the House on the observation that we made, and anything else that have been said out by the mover of the motion, and that's cut across everything else, that includes the completeness of the institution charged with the implementation of this policy. Honorable Speaker, it is a awakening call to this particular House that recently this House passed an FDP, that is the Field Development Plan. And equally, Honorable Speaker, it touched on the production sharing contracts for Block 6 and Block 7, that is T6 and T7 in Lokichar, Honorable Speaker. This is an undertaking that the committee also went through all the considerations, and in eventuality, Honorable Speaker, we'll have the first tanker moving the production of oil from Lokichar all the way to the coastal region, Honorable Speaker. And some of the observations that we've made, some of the recommendations that we made into the policy, Honorable Speaker, are going to address the gaps that were there through the legislation. That is why the committee has made recommendations that the minister then, the cabinet minister for energy, together with all other regulatory authorities, then moves in with speed, and within 6 months, Honorable Speaker, proposes a new policy then that integrates everything else that have been left out. With those very few remarks, without repeating myself, Honorable Speaker, allow me then to second. I beg to second. Thank you.
Done and well said. Oh, members, the motion having been moved ably and seconded ably, I now propose the motion that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Energy on its consideration of the sessional paper number 4 of 2026 on the National Petroleum Policy, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, the 2nd of July 2026, and approves the sessional paper number 4 2026 on the National Petroleum Policy. Honorable Mawadi, you want to contribute to this?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this motion and make a few comments. There is need for us to really consider the local content of any of the oil that is produced here in Kenya. There is a very huge gap because we don't consider the locals, especially the people in Turkana in this one. There is need for the local content in terms of the trucks that are ferrying this to also to be locally sourced and the contractors be local Kenyan. Also, they need to strengthen a NOC. Most countries have national oil companies that normally are the ones given the responsibility of looking to the reserves of any oil or petrol when we have shortages or incidents like the current one that we are going through. So they need really to strengthen NOC. The other thing that we abandoned that we should go back and ensure that we do is complete the Lapset and the Lapset pipeline all the way to Lokicha and Ethiopia and Southern Sudan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Mutunga, you want to contribute to this? Would I therefore then call the mover to reply?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank the Honorable Member for Embakasi South and also a member of the Energy Committee to have made a contribution on this bill. Honorable Member, the House will note that this is the first standalone policy on petroleum this country has ever had since the year 2004, and I therefore urge the members to consider the key concern, the 9 key concerns that the committee raised while preparing for this particular policy, so that members can look at it further as we send it to the Cabinet Secretary to prepare and forward it back to the House. And I therefore wish to reply.
Members, with that, I therefore now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Energy on its consideration of the sessional paper number 4 of 2026 on the National Petroleum Policy, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 2nd of July 2026, and approves the sessional paper number 4 of 2026 on the National Petroleum Policy. Will as per other opinion say aye? Those of the opinion say nay. Ayes have it.
Order number 13, motion, appointment of an external auditor to audit the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General.
The Honorable Chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee, the Honorable Tindi Mwale.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the motion that the House approves the appointment of MSMGI Alekim LLP to conduct an audit of the Office of the Auditor General with respect to accounts and financial statements, staff car and mortgage schemes for the financial years 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028, pursuant to Article 2264 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, before I discuss the contents of the report in summary, yes.
I would like you to move this motion the way it is in the order paper. Then you proceed with what you want to say next.
I have to read first. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I was using the summary in the report. Yes, that's for my, I agree. It's for my, I'll repeat for the record, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the motion that this House adopts the report of the Public Accounts Committee on procurement of external audit services for the Office of the Auditor General for the financial years 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 13th August 2026, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 2264 of the Constitution and Section 43 of the Public Audit Act, Cap 412B, appoints MS MGI Alekim LLP for purposes of auditing and reporting on the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General with respect to Roman 1, accounts of the Office of the Auditor General for the period 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028, and Roman 2, the financial statements for the staff mortgage and car loan scheme for the Office of the Auditor General for the financial years 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028. Mr. Speaker, before I give a brief of what the report entails, I would like to highlight on a few constitutional provisions that that has made this report to come before this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the constitutional mandate and legal framework is derived from Article 226 of the Constitution of Kenya, which gives the accounts and audit of public resources. Mr. Speaker, Section 2263 states clearly that, subject to Clause 4, the accounts of all government and state organs shall be audited by the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, it goes further to state 2264 states clearly, Mr. Speaker, that accounts of the Office of the Auditor General shall be audited and reported on by a professional qualified accountant appointed by the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, I want the House to note that it is this provision of the House appointing a qualified accountant to audit the Office of the Auditor General that has made this report to be brought to this House, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, before I give a highlight of how the procurement was done, why is it beneficial to audit the Office of the Auditor General? Mr. Speaker, number one, we need to get credible and trust of the Supreme Body. Mr. Speaker, when you talk about credibility and trust of the Supreme Body, we are talking of the objectivity, the accuracy, and free from bias. Mr. Speaker, we also need to enhance transparency because this body audits other government entities, and therefore when it's audited, Mr. Speaker, there is international auditing standards, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, just to highlight the 7 principles of auditing, we have the integrity, Mr. Speaker, which talks of fairness and unbiasedness, Mr. Speaker. We have the fair presentation. We have the due professional care, confidentiality, independence, and evidence-based approach, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, when I go back to the report, which has been presented to this House by our committee, the Public Accounts Committee, Mr. Speaker, you'll find that To fulfill the constitutional obligation, the National Assembly initiated an open competitive procurement process through a request for proposal for the provision of external audit services for the Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, the tender was publicly advertised on the 11th of March, 2026, on the National Assembly website and the Public Procurement Information Portal. Mr. Speaker, following a pre-bid meeting, 6 firms submitted their bids by the closing date of 24th of March, 2026 at 11 a.m. Mr. Speaker, the first firm was MSSKM Africa LLP.
It's read as Messrs, not MS.
Messrs.
Messrs, like
Messrs.
Misters
SK.
in plural, yes.
Okay. Messrs. SKM Africa LLP, Messrs. MGI Alekim LLP, Messrs. Dakala Advisory LLP, Messrs. Baka Tili, and Messrs. Messrs. RSM East Africa Limited Liability Partnership. Mr. Speaker, the evaluation and findings. The evaluation committee appointed by the accounting officer pursuant to Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, Cap 412C, subjected the submissions to a vigorous 4-stage evaluation process. Mr. Speaker, preliminary stroke mandatory evaluation were 5 firms of the 6 bids were disqualified for various non-responsiveness issues, and as uncommissioned powers of attorney, missing registration certificates, missing security bid, and unverified professional indemnity covers. So, Mr. Speaker, you'll find that during the evaluation process, we have the mandatory requirements which every company has to qualify. And from the report, the evaluation report, it shows that 5 out of the 6 firms failed to comply with the mandatory requirements. And therefore, only 1 firm, which is Messrs. MGI Alekim LLP, was the only firm that met all preliminary and mandatory requirements, therefore proceeded to the technical stage of evaluation. Mr. Speaker, making reference to page 1 of the report, for members who have the report, I'm making reference to page 1, which has listed the companies and the outcome, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, going forward, the technical evaluation, in bracket, quality and cost-based selection, Messrs. MJI Alekim LLP attained an average technical score of 79.7%, surpassing the 75% pass mark. Mr. Speaker, I'll note that the Public and Procurement Act stipulates that during technical evaluation, a company should surpass 75% of the score. And Messrs. MGI Alekim LLP attained an average technical score of 79.7%, surpassing that mark. Financial evaluation, it's a financial bid of Kenya shillings 6,497,400, inclusive of all applicable taxes and levies. This financial bid was opened on 21st of May 2026. Mr. Speaker, applying the weighted combined scoring criteria, 80% technical and 20% financial, Messrs. MJI Alekim LLP attained a final combined weighted score of 83.8% points, ranking highest. In line with the above, and through professional opinion number NA/2025-2026/057, dated 5th of June 2026, the accounting officer approved the award of Messrs. MGI Alekim LLP. The firm accepted the offer on 10th of June 2026 and on appeals, and no appeals were lodged within the prescribed period. So, Mr. Speaker, you'll find that once the company that has scored the highest is notified through the intent to award, the Procurement Act gives 2 weeks for any company that participated and had got grievances to file an appeal. And it's clear, Mr. Speaker, that the 5 other firms did not file an appeal against the award. Committee observations and findings, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, at its sitting held on Thursday, 6th of August 2026, the Public Accounts Committee reviewed the procurement proceedings and satisfied itself that due process was strictly followed in compliance with Article 227 of the Constitution and the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. Mr. Speaker, the committee therefore recommends that, pursuant to Article 2264 of the Constitution, the committee recommends that this August House approves the appointment of Messiahs MGI Alekim LLP to conduct an external audit of the Office of the Auditor General, including its financial statements, staff car, mortgage schemes for the financial years 2025-2026, 2026-2027, and 2027-2028. Mr. Speaker, as I finalize, I want to make reference to the report in terms of the valuation. In terms of the value of the tender, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on page 4 of the report, you will note that the cost audit, there is a table, the third table. On that page 4 of the report, Mr. Speaker, the third row gives the cost audit services, which is 5,460,000, tax and levies, which is 1,037,400, and the total amount, Mr. Speaker, is 6,497,400. Mr. Speaker, you'll note that considering that these services are going to be offered for 3 financial years, this cost is not that high compared to the previous costs that we have approved in this House. And Mr. Speaker, you'll find that many firms, the reason why the response to the tender was low is because many firms, Mr. Speaker, fear or get to a disadvantaged stage where they are told to audit the Auditor General. Because the nature of auditing, Mr. Speaker, is that where the Auditor General feels like he can't or she can't do the responsibilities to satisfaction, she can hire an outside firm to help. And therefore, the moment you are pre-qualified to audit the Auditor General, then you are blocked from being subcontracted by the Office of the Auditor General in terms of doing services on their behalf. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, you'll find many firms shy off from applying for these services to audit the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you'll also find out that during evaluation, especially on technical, Mr. Speaker, the criteria or the score is normally very high because you are going to audit the firm that audits all government entities. All government entities, I mean the national government and the 47 county governments, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, the technical score or the technical qualification is always very high, and that's why many companies might not be in a position to attain those high scores, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the committee did its observations, and we have given our recommendations. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I recommend that with those few remarks that this firm, you said it's Messiahs. Messrs. Yeah. So Messrs. MGI, Alekim LLP, Mr. Speaker, be given the go-ahead to conduct the audit of the Office of the Auditor General. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to ask my colleague and committee member, the MP for Mathioya, to second, Mr. Speaker.
So you beg to move and ask.
I beg to move. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move and ask my colleague, the Member of Parliament for Mathioya, a committee member of Public Accounts Committee, to second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
But that is a very elaborate, exposition of your motion, the Honorable Tindi. I'm sure even anybody listening from out there understands what you are trying to do this evening. The Honorable Member for Mathioya, Doctor, I'm told you got 3 PhDs. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I would want to second the motion by my able chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, Honorable Tindi Mwale. And Chair, Mr. Speaker, just as you have said that the report was elaborate, I might not have much to say. But given the task that this company or this audit firm has ahead of them, and given the cost, I think it is only fair that we second this and we support, because, Honorable Speaker, as the chair has said here, it is 3 financial years, 25-26, 26-27, 27-28, and they will be auditing the financial statements, the staff, car, and mortgage schemes, all those costs, all those activities at a cost of around 2.2 million Kenya shillings per financial year. I think it's a very moderate and fair cost for such an activity and for such a task. And for those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to second. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you. All members, the motion having been moved, ably and seconded, I therefore propose that this House adopt the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the procurement of external audit services for the Office of the Auditor General for the financial years 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, the 13th August 2026, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 226, Paragraph 4 of the Constitution, and Section 43 of the Public Audit Act, Cap 412B, appoint Messrs. MGI Alekim LLP for purposes of auditing and reporting on the accounts of Office of the Auditor General with respect to, 1, the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General for the period 2025, 2026, 2027, and 2027-2028, and 2, the financial statements of the staff mortgage and car loan scheme of the Office of the Auditor General for the financial years 2026-2027, 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028. Budget. The Honorable Majority Leader, you want to contribute to this?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to contribute to this report and support it. And on the offset, thank the Honorable Tindi Mwale for a good job well done. Honorable Speaker, appointing an auditor for the government, the auditor to audit the auditor, is a Herculean task. It's not easy because you must bring in experience, you might bring in high level of understanding, and you must also bring in somebody who has high levels of integrity, because this is an auditor of the auditor. And I think I am very, very glad and happy that now we have somebody that we are tabling in this House for the appointment in the name of Messrs. MGI Alekim LLP. as that firm that is going to audit the Auditor General. Honorable Speaker, the tenets of audit are actually mainly to bring in transparency, accountability, and good use of public resources, Honorable Speaker. And these are some of the tenets that Parliament stands for, because these are public funds. They're money for the people. There can't be government without taxes, but also there cannot be taxes taxes when they are taken, they must be accounted for properly. Now, the Office of the Auditor General also receives funds. I am not aware how much money the Office of the Auditor General has spent so far, and especially for the financial years that you have put in here. I'm not so sure how much, but I want to imagine that the books of this Parliament bear me witness that it is colossal. It is a lot of money. And I remember in the 12th Parliament, there was this debate on whether the Auditor General's office must get a lot of money, more money, for it to do a good job. And we did that during the Auditor General called Mr. Ouko. We actually allocated more money to ensure that there's effectiveness in the office of the Auditor General. Some of the resources, for example, money that goes to the counties, it goes to the counties dependent on audited accounts. And therefore we say, more resources available to the Office of the Auditor General, it means therefore they will work faster, better, more transparent, and ensure that we have audited reports on time. And therefore, because the Office of the Auditor General receives funds from this House, it is important that we appoint an auditor to audit the accounts of the Auditor General. And that is why we must do this. That is why we must do this. And I want to, in the event that we approve Mrs. MGI Alekim LLP, we expect them to do a good job, because public funds are spent in this office. Public funds are spent. And we would like to see the audited reports of the Auditor General's office being tabled in this House so that we can look at them, scrutinize them, and see whether the Auditor General actually lives up to the calling of his office: transparency, accountability, integrity, and all those words, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, it is my pleasure to second this report and to request this House that we appoint MSS MGI Alekim LLP as the auditor for the auditor to audit the accounts and report to the House the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General with respect to the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General for the period ended 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028, and also the financial statements for the staff mortgage and car loan scheme of the Office of the Auditor General 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, and 2027. Those 3 years, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, I want to call upon members of this House to support Tindi Mwale's team and his report for the good job. I am sure they have put in all levels of acid tests, all manner of tests, to ensure that we pick one person, one firm that can actually pass the test of time so that they can audit the Auditor General. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support.
You want to contribute to this? Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this, to adoption of this report by the committee. Honorable Speaker, the auditing of the Auditor General is a very interesting issue to us and to every Kenyan, so that at least we know whether they are living by the practice, they are leading by example. Honorable Speaker, I've taken a bit of time to check whether Mrs. MGI Alekim LLP is a Kenyan firm. And I can confirm to the House that it is a Kenyan audit firm, audit and accounting firm. They are actually located in Nairobi, specifically in Karen. That's where they have their office. And Honorable Speaker, I would like to congratulate them for having made the decision to apply for this job and knowing the risks that they are taking, so that at least they can prove to the world. And so these are some of the options that companies take so that they can grow. And I'm sure if they bring us, which I hope they will, a very good audit report that will give us the details that probably we expect, that will point out the key issues that are in the Office of the Auditor General, how they manage their resources. Honorable Speaker, I'm sure it's a firm that is destined to grow very fast because many Kenyans will have confidence in them, and therefore they are likely to even expand their network because their network is considered to be worldwide. It's a top global ranking accounting firm, and I'm sure it's going to be more integrated in this country. It will grow like the ones we know that are in this country that have come, our headquarters, or they are based in, they started in other countries like Ernst & Young and many others which have been auditing in this particular country. Honourable Speaker, auditing the Auditor General is like examining the doctor, and it is interesting for us to know whether there are any shortcomings, there are any mismanagement of funds within the Auditor General's accounts, whether there are any questions or reasons for qualification of the account. We would like to probably look at some of those details when they emerge. With those few remarks, Honourable Speaker, I beg to support adoption of the report.
Very well. There being no more interest in this one, the mover. Oh, let's hear the Kiri first on the same.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, the presentation by the chair of this great committee is showing us a lot of confidence in the performance of the committee. I therefore congratulate the committee for doing a good job in identifying the auditor of the Auditor General. Many cases, some independent bodies can go rogue, and we have seen it, and we have heard it. And I think they need to be checked. They can be excessive, particularly where they are not checked. So when we have an auditor to audit the Auditor General, this is a very powerful office in this country. The Auditor General can bring down the government if not really taken care of. There was some questions a few months back how the Auditor General misuses funds. It was in the public, how do they themselves use their money that is allocated to them? You know, since they audit others, they were not being audited or how the money allocated to them, meaning they were not properly checked. Therefore, when we have a credible auditors to audit our Auditor General, it must be above board. This must be an international accredited and known firm. And I agree with the committee, the firm that they have picked is above board. And it is going to ensure there is professionalism in the way the Auditor General discharges its responsibility as the Auditor General of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, one of the greatest problems that we are having in this country is the issue of credibility. The resources that we are utilizing is the public money. Various institutions of the government, they use taxes that are being paid. And therefore, how this money is being used by the respective enterprises is of keen interest. So that now people can have credibility. The public can be able to say, yes, the way that our money is being used, we need to have a very strong Auditor General. And therefore, it is upon us to approve what we can see and appreciate as the best auditor to audit our Auditor General. You know, accounting for the money that is is a serious problem in this country, both by the Auditor General and also by the Auditor General audits. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of compliance. We need to know whether the Auditor General complies with the international standards of audit and financial systems, Mr. Speaker. We need to know whether the Auditor General is in compliance with the law of the land. We cannot know that unless it is brought out by another auditor to tell Kenyans that this Auditor General is in compliance with the international, because we are international village. Mr. Speaker, how independent is our Auditor General? I think that's a very serious question that we need to ask. Some of them are saying the Auditor General of Kenya is controlled by, I don't know, so what is so. The other saying it's controlled by the government. Others are saying it's being used by opposition. Others are saying they are being used by international organizations. So how independent is our Auditor General? It is very important, therefore, that somebody comes and tells us, yes, in as far as we are satisfied, we are giving out an qualified performance report of our Auditor General. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I would like to state as follows. One, we sometimes deal with audit report going back as 10 years or even 15 years. So we really need to know how the Auditor General, what is this that is causing them to delay in producing their reports? Because we must have some standard benchmarks. Because if really we are dealing with the report of 10 years ago, I think we are not really moving with the current. Therefore, in order to improve the performance, they must be told where their weaknesses are, where their recommendations are, where their strengths are, and what they need to do, Mr. Speaker. Again, as I said, the element of misuse of public funds is a critical issue. And therefore, really, we need to have somebody very keen on the way our money is being used. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support this nomination and tell the House, please, let's move with speed, because our Auditor General is a very important office and it cannot be left to operate anyhow. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable, I can see you trying to say something there. What is it? You want to contribute? I cannot see your name here.
Yes.
Then proceed.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa na mimi nitie mdomo wangu katika mazungumzo haya. Mimi nimesimama kuunga kamati kwa kuja na mawazo ya kuwa kuwe na mdhibiti wa mkaguzi mkuu wa hesabu, kwa sababu yeye anatumia fedha za umma. Kwa hivyo itakuwa ni uzito sana, yeye anakagua lakini yeye hakaguliwi. Yoyote yule ambaye anashika fedha za umma lazima azihesabu, azieleze matumizi yalikwenda namna gani na hesabu imefikia wapi. Kwa hivyo mimi nimesimama kuunga mkono kamati kwamba wamefanya kazi nzuri, wana mawazo mazuri, kwamba chochote yoyote anayedhibiti pesa za umma lazima akaguliwe, kwa sababu yeye alikuwa anakagua lakini hakaguliwi. Kwa hivyo ni vyema sasa hata huyu anayemkagua yeye, ikiwa atapewa pesa pia atakaguliwa, kila mtu aseme vile pesa za umma zimeenda vipi. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Asante sana, umenena vema, lakini Kiswahili sanifu sijui kama mwenyekiti ameelewa. Anyway, that notwithstanding, mover.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I rise to reply, Mr. Speaker, establishes the accounts and the powers of the Office of the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker. 2264 stipulates clearly that we need to appoint an accountant who shall audit the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, for us to enhance credibility in auditing of this great republic, Kenya, Mr. Speaker, for us to enhance transparency, it is prudent that the Office of the Auditor General is also audited, because this House allocates resources through the process of budgeting. We allocate resources to the Office of the Auditor General. These resources is taxpayers' money. And the Office of the Auditor General uses these resources to audit public entities, both at the national government and the county government, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, it's prudent that we do a follow-up to know if the auditor is using the funds prudently, or if the Office of the Auditor General is infringing on the mandate, on its mandate. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, that's why the committee came up with this motion and this report, that the House considers Messiah's MGI Alekim LLP as the office or the firm that is going to audit the Office of the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleagues who have contributed to this motion and assure this House that this company, this firm, is competent enough technically and also budget effective in terms of value for money, Mr. Speaker. Because for 3 financial years, they are going to audit using only 6,400,000 Kenyan shillings, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I rise to reply. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, let me proceed to put the question, which is that this House adopts the report of the Public Accounts Committee on procurement of external audit services for the Office of the Auditor General for the financial year 2025-2026, 2026-2027, 2027-2028, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 13th August 2026, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 2264 of the Constitution and Section 43 of the Public Audit Act, Cap 412B, appoints Ms. M.G.I. Alekin LLP for the purposes of auditing and reporting on the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General, OAG, with respect to 1, the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General for the period 2025-2026, 2026-2027, 2027-2028, and 2, the financial statements for the staff mortgage and car loan scheme of the Office of the Auditor General for the financial year 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028. Will as many of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many of contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order. The order paper had been rearranged, so we are not dealing with order number 14. Move to the next order.
Order number 14, the Public Service Superannuation Scheme Amendment Bill,
that's the one. Order.
National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2025, second reading. Order number 15, motion, consideration of the Inter-African Coffee Organization new agreement.
The Chair, Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock on its consideration of the Inter-African Coffee Organization new agreement 2020, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, the 13th of August 2026, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8, 4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, CAR 4D, approves the ratification of the Inter-African Coffee Organization, IACO New Agreement 2020. Madam Speaker, the committee report before the House details the committee's consideration of the ratification of the Inter-African Coffee Organization, IACO New Agreement 2020. Madam Speaker, by way of background, Madam Speaker, I wish to summarize. By way of background, Madam Speaker, the establishment of IACO, or Inter-African Agreement, or Inter-African Coffee Organization, was established on 7th of December 1960 with Kenya as a founding member. It was created basically to unite African coffee producing countries, to coordinate coffee marketing, to address production and trade challenges, and to promote sustainable growth of African coffee sector. Madam Speaker, why then do we have the new agreement? The new agreement, Madam Speaker, is coming in because the original framework had become outdated due to the following reasons. One, the coffee industry has shifted from government-controlled systems to private sector-led markets. The second reason is that Africa now seeks to capitalize on opportunities under the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is the marketing provision within Africa. And the other issue, the other reason, Honourable Speaker, is that the old agreement excludes coffee consuming African countries as part of the market for coffee. It also provides no formal role for private sector actors. That is the former agreement. So consequently, IACO members adopted the new agreement during the 60th General Assembly in November 2020, replacing the 1960 agreement entirely. Madam Speaker, the importance of coffee in this country cannot be underrated. The committee notes that coffee remains one of the most important crops in the country, and the key statistics do indicate that it supports approximately 5 million households in this country, and Kenya has 556 coffee cooperative societies, processing coffee or managing coffee at one stage or the other in the value chain. We have 32 large coffee estates in this country. And during the 2020-2021 crop year, we earned 382 hectares under coffee, and 44,898 metric tons of clean coffee was produced, and 30,811 metric tons of coffee came from the smallholders, and 14,108 metric tons of coffee came from the large-scale estates. And Madam Speaker, mainly, Kenya produces what is called Arabica coffee. There are challenges that are facing Africa's coffee sector, and the committee noted the following challenges, Honourable Speaker. One of them is heavy dependence on exporting raw coffee. There is a dependency on exporting raw coffee. The other one is Africa imports large quantities of processed coffee despite being the main producer of coffee. The other issue, Honourable Speaker, is that we have high global price volatility within the coffee sector. There is low farmer incomes in the coffee growing areas or coffee producers. There are technological inefficiencies that are also noted, and declining competitiveness within the coffee industry. There is abandonment of coffee farming, especially by the Kenyan farmers who left coffee and decided even to grow maize and beans. And there is also the shrinking of African share of the global coffee export. So in view of these challenges, Honourable Speaker, then came this particular agreement, which has several key areas of focus. So the major changes that have been introduced by this particular IACO agreement or new agreement include expanded membership. One of them is the membership currently within this particular provision includes coffee producing countries, coffee consuming and importing African countries, and greater participation of the private sector stakeholders. There is also new governance structure that has been brought about by this agreement, whereby the agreement establishes 7 organs. One of them is the General Assembly, then the General Secretariat, Financial and Administrative Committee, Economic and Development Committee, Private Sector Consultative Group, African Coffee Research Network, and African Coffee Development Fund. Now, the third issue that comes in with this agreement, Madam Speaker, is the fact that the issue of African Coffee Development Fund, which is a dedicated financing mechanism to basically finance value-adding projects, also to support infrastructure, to provide technical assistance, and also to improve access to affordable financing. The fourth issue that is coming in with this particular agreement is the private sector integration. And private sector actors, who are the producers, processors, millers, exporters, roasters, buyers, and financial institutions, are formally incorporated into the continental coffee governance structure through the private sector consultative group. The fifth issue that is different from the original agreement is the issue of research collaboration, whereby the African Coffee Research Network will basically coordinate research institutions, also promote innovations, and share scientific knowledge across Africa. Madam Speaker, the other key issue is the provision of the key issue to note are the main provisions of this particular agreement. This agreement provides for the annual General Assembly meetings, which were not probably provided in the other agreement. Also, strategic 5-year action planning and action plans. It also provides for voting rights based on export or imports. It provides for mandatory member contributions, provides for independent financial audits. It also provides for suspension of voting rights for non-payment paying members. It also provides for arbitration of disputes. It also provides for no reservation to the agreement. There are no reservations within this particular agreement. There is also withdrawal only after 1 year's written notice. You cannot withdraw any time, and the amendments requiring a two-thirds majority of the votes. Madam Speaker, there are policy implications for Kenya that are articulated in this particular agreement. And I wish to report that the committee found or articulated the fact that it will promote Africa Free Trade Area, which basically will expand intra-Africa coffee trade, and Kenya is one of the partners, encourage local processing, increase African coffee consumption through the campaign, Drink African Coffee, Build Africa's Economy. Drink African Coffee, Build Africa's Economy. The second issue is the issue of addressing sector challenges, whereby the committee notes Kenya will benefit from improved regional cooperation, promotion of technology transfer, support to the value chain of coffee, and creation of better financing mechanisms. The third issue that the committee notes as important, or rather having implications to Kenya, is the legal and the fiscal impact, whereby we have full compliance. The committee notes that this particular agreement comes in full compliance with the Constitution. It does not require amendment to the Kenya's laws. It also imposes no additional financial burden, as Kenya's annual subscription remains unchanged. And Kenya is one of those who have been paying religiously. Madam Speaker, upon opening up for public participation, several stakeholders did participate in this particular process. And I would like to mention some of them and some of the contributions very briefly. Madam Speaker, the committee conducted public participation through the newspaper advertisement and invited written memoranda and stakeholder consultations. First stakeholder is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, which supported the ratification because it would strengthen Kenya's role in continental coffee governance. It would also improve access to market intelligence. It would enhance research and capacity building. It would promote African coffee markets. It would enable access to the African Coffee Development Fund. And it would require no additional public expenditure, as Kenya already pays 48,048 euro annually, 48,048 euro annually. The second stakeholder is the Agriculture and Food Authority, which is AFA, that issued a no objection to the ratification of the agreement, noting that the ratification would improve Kenya's competitiveness. It would also enhance technology transfer, expand market access under the African Free Trade Area. It would also strengthen Kenya's participation in the regional coffee policy. The Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development is another stakeholder who participated, who brought their views, and the ministry also supported ratification, stating that it would strengthen regional collaboration, improve technology exchange, expand markets, and increase competitiveness and sustainability of the Kenyan coffee industry. The other stakeholder who participated is submission by Wilson Redding. While supporting ratification, he recommended that a national implementation plan within 90 days should be realized, and also stronger measures to protect farmers from global price volatility should be instituted, and also enhancing the role of private sector consultative group beyond an advisory function. The committee's observations, Honourable Speaker, were as follows. The committee did conclude that there are strategic benefits from this particular ratification of this particular agreement. To the extent that the agreement modernizes African coffee governance, it aligns with African it aligns with the African it supports the local processing and expands the regional trade. The second issue that the committee notes is the constitutional compliance, whereby it is fully consistent with the Constitution and the Kenyan legislation. The other issue, the fiduciary neutrality, where there is no additional cost to the taxpayer, since Kenya continues to pay the existing annual contribution that I mentioned earlier. There is also no reservations in the sense that the Parliament must either approve or reject the treaty in full, and the reservations are not permitted in this particular case, Honourable Speaker. The risk of non-ratification is also noted, whereby failure to ratify could result in suspension of Kenya's voting rights within the African Consortium, loss of influence in continental coffee policy, exclusion from specialized IACO committees. Those are the repercussions if Kenya doesn't ratify. And also the financing opportunity, whereby ratification gives Kenya access to the African Coffee Development Fund financing, the technical assistance that is available under the coffee value addition projects or opportunities. To the smallholder farmers, the committee stresses that ratification alone is insufficient, and that the national implementation plans and market stabilization strategies are necessary to ensure benefits reach smallholder farmers who produce between 70 and 75% of the coffee through 556 cooperative societies that have been cited earlier. The committee, therefore, Honourable Speaker, recommends the following. The committee unanimously did recommend that the National Assembly approves the ratification of the Inter-African Coffee Organization New Agreement 2020. The committee also recommends that directs the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs to deposit Kenya's instrument of ratification with the UNECA. Also, the committee requires the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development to prepare within 90 days a comprehensive national implementation matrix detailing how Kenyan farmers will benefit, particularly through access to the African Coffee Development Fund and the value chain development. And finally, Honourable Speaker, the committee also recommends that directs the Agriculture and Food Authority to develop a targeted export promotion framework for Kenya's processed coffee within the African Free Trade Area market. Honourable Speaker, with those remarks, I do wish to move and call upon the Honourable Osero Kibagendi, member of the committee, to second.
Honourable Kibagendi. Give him the mic. Or any mic around that place. No. Yes, there's one at the minority leader's table.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would also like to summarize. Mr. Speaker, I wish to second the motion that the House approves the ratification of the Inter-Africa Coffee Organization new agreement of 2020. Honorable Speaker, coffee remains one of Kenya's most valuable cash crop and key source of foreign exchange. The subsector supports the livelihoods of over 5 million Kenyans and rests overwhelmingly on smallholder agriculture. Just like the chairman has said, we have 556 cooperative societies representing the majority of growers alongside 2,132 large-scale estate farmers. Despite producing some of the finest Arabica coffee in the world, Kenya and other African producers face persistent structural weaknesses. Liberal global trade exposes our farmers to sharp price swings. Many African states still import processed coffee from Europe, Asia, and Middle East. Mr. Speaker, Kenya already pays an annual assessed contribution of 448,000 euros as a member of the International Coffee Association. So ratification adds no new cost to the exchequer. The greater risk lies in inaction. Under Article 22, failure to maintain active standing can suspend Kenya's voting rights and participation in specialized committees. That would weaken Kenya's voice in continental coffee policy, and at the very moment the sector is being reorganized. Ratifying now protects Kenya's leadership and secures a place in the bodies that will set the rules for the intra-Africa coffee trade. Mr. Speaker, the full value of the agreement will reach farmers only through deliberate domestic action. The committee has recommended that the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development table a national implementation matrix within 90 days of ratification so that the access to the African Coffee Development Fund and value chain support flows to smallholders organized under cooperative societies. This link between continental membership and farm-level benefit is what makes the case for approving and compelling. Having reviewed the agreement and considered the submissions made, I am confident that the ratification will advance Kenya's national interest and strengthen coffee sector that so many households depend on. I therefore urge this House to approve the ratification of the Inter-Africa Coffee Organization, IACO, new agreement 2020. I second the motion, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honorable members, let me proceed to propose the question, which is that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock on its consideration of the Inter-African Coffee Organization, IACO, new agreement 2020 laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 13th, 2026, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, Cap 4D, approves the ratification of the Inter-African Coffee Organization, IACO, new agreement 2020. Ridikiri Mugambi, I see you are interested in this.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'm interested because my constituency, Bore constituency, is an emerging coffee producing constituency. Actually, I border the chairman's constituency. We share one factory of coffee in a place called Bitonto. And I can tell you It is one of the oldest coffee-producing region in Meru County. I was very keen on this ratification of the agreement because of the Inter-Africa Coffee Organization, new agreement 2020. I was very keen to find out whether this agreement captures what will benefit the farmers of coffee in our region, Bori, Tigania West, and Meru County at large. I was very keen to know whether it is going to address the issue of market and marketing. I was very keen to notice whether it will be touching on anything to do with the pricing of coffee. I was keen to know whether it is addressing the issue of the kind of quality of coffee that we have, and I have been told that the issue of research. I was very keen to know whether there is anything to do with value addition. I was very keen, Mr. Speaker, because the market is shrinking internationally with the increase of production of coffee by other countries in Africa, specifically Ethiopia, Uganda, and there are new producers that producing areas that are emerging. Mr. Speaker, the entire value chain issues have been mentioned, like I've said. And one key other interest that we all need to be concerned about, we produce but we don't consume coffee. It's a very serious challenge. We produce the best coffee, but we don't consume. The other thing is, we produce the best coffee, but we don't process it to the final product. I was very keen, therefore, to know as we deal with free trading, because when we talk about free trading, we are saying everybody will bring their product here, and that's exactly what is happening. If you walk into a supermarket today, you are going to find 10 products of coffee. Out of that, about 8 are from outside Africa. But we are the actual producers of the raw material of coffee. So really, I was very keen to see whether this agreement is addressing those factors. And I'm happy to note that the committee has really scrutinized that report, and it has really addressed those concerns from a farmer of Bori constituency and in Tigania West. Mr. Speaker, there are issues that surround legal aspect of coffee, particularly on the relationship that we have with the other countries. So that was another matter which I think has been addressed. And I really would like to thank the committee, because I think now we are trying to position Kenya into the international market through enhanced relationship with the coffee-producing countries in Africa. And to me, therefore, this agreement is very important. We need to support it. We need to approve it like yesterday, so that we move on now to the implementation of what the agreement is requiring us to do as a country. Finally, Mr. Speaker, you know, funding is very key, particularly on production, technology, and research. And therefore, to me, that one has also been captured. So please, let's approve this agreement. It is going to add more voice for the Kenyan farmer, for the Kenyan economy out there as we compete with other African countries. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, there being no further interests, mover, do you have any comment on this, Chair? Chair, yes.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I stand to reply that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock on its consideration of the Inter-African Coffee Organization new agreement laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 13th of August 2026, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 84 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, Cap 4D, that this House approves the ratification of this particular report. Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank those who have contributed, my brother, Honorable Ndikiri, and even the mover. Honorable Speaker, this agreement comes in with very many good things. First of all, it does align, the agreement itself aligns with the Kenyan Constitution, which means we are living on today's record as per the status quo of this particular country. And therefore, it has recognized the fact that we have a new constitution, and it's a document that has been born out of this particular environment. Honorable Speaker, the other issue is the provision of possibility for trade, opening up market for Kenya through the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is already a provision, and therefore bring together African countries to, first of all, agree on how to sell coffee outside Africa and how to consume coffee. So there are very many advantages in adopting this particular agreement. So, Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply.
Honorable members, I proceed to put the question that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock on its consideration of the Inter-African Coffee Organization, IACO, new agreement 2020 laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 13th August 2026, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, Cap 4D, approves the ratification of the Inter-African Coffee Organization, IACO, new agreement 2020. Will as many of that opinion say aye? Will as many of contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 16, motion, inspection visit to the Kenyan Embassy in Morocco.
The chair defends. We got a report that the committee is engaged elsewhere in the chair, and therefore we defer that to the next sitting. Next order.
Order number 17, motion, inspection visit to the Kenyan Embassy in Egypt.
Honorable members, is the same chair who is involved in that next order, and therefore it also stands deferred to the next session. We may be upstanding, honorable members. And the time being 6:46 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Wednesday, 26th August at 9:30 a.m.